Game, set, match. The lizard people win.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, July 13th, 2023. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination episode 1572.
This is No Agenda.
Marking up the DMZ and broadcasting live from the heart of the Texas Hill Country here in FEMA Region number 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where our summer has finally begun, at least for a day, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Our summer is a hot one.
You've been having summer for months.
Yeah, we have like 105, 106 now.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, well, you know it's all climate change, obviously. Hello?
Oh, yeah. It's always been that way. In fact, for the last 100 years, there's been climate change in Texas.
Climate change. It's climate change. Hold on. Here's ABC proving it to us. It's climate change.
Most of California is seeing temperatures more than 15 degrees above normal. And Las Vegas could hit an all-time record of 118 degrees this weekend.
Yeah, baby.
If Las Vegas, and this is kind of a nerdy thing that I'm always interested in, if Las Vegas passes 117, which is kind of their cap, that would break an all-time record. I remember being out at the National Weather Service in Las Vegas and asking them, why is it 117? Well, it looks like this Sunday, we might even be able to break that.
Heat is the deadliest natural hazard in the U.S., with an average of nearly 1,400 additional deaths each year due to more days over 90 degrees. And it's not just rising temperatures on land. About 40% of the world's oceans are experiencing a heat wave.
Oh, no.
Scientists say climate change is also triggering more extreme rain events, which could be a factor in this slow-moving disaster unfolding in Southern California. At least 12 homes are collapsing into a ravine in Rolling Hills Estates. 16 others are at risk.
State geologists tell me that record rains this year have unleashed thousands of landslides, and it's often the biggest ones that take the longest to form, which is why there's concern of additional landslides here in the coming months.
Scientists are also taking a closer look at what they call underground climate change in big cities. A new study found the land beneath Chicago has warmed by more than 5 degrees in the past 70 years, causing the ground under buildings to swell and crack. The effects of climate change proving to be expensive. Farmers Insurance is now reducing coverage in Florida and California, due in part to extreme weather.
All right. Now, I want to stay with California for a moment. Thanks to Bingit.io, I was able to find the following clip from No Agenda episode 1186. Because California has always been a hellhole.
If only it was a clip. It's there were no clips in the day.
It's a news article.
It was the diary of the professor, and I think it was 1860, and he wrote that California, he did not understand how anyone could or would ever want to live there because it is hell on earth with its mudslides, its fires, and its earthquakes.
It's always been a hellhole. Always. This is me again in 2023.
Oh, I can't tell when you were
this is me.
in the past.
Hello.
You sound the same.
I know. Well, it's only 400 episodes ago. It's always been a hellhole. There's nothing new.
It's documented.
Yes, proof. We had a clip. It's proof. But as I predicted.
Oh, we always had vigilantes, too, so there's nothing new about that.
As I predicted just on the last show, what are we going to get?
Tonight, a case of extreme turbulence over the U.S. Several passengers and crew on board an Allegiant Airlines flight were injured when the plane was hit by severe turbulence. The plane nearly full from Asheville, North Carolina to St. Pete Clearwater Airport in Florida. One passenger calling it petrifying, a flight attendant sent into the air. The injuries are not life-threatening.
Sent into the air. Now, again, the reason why this is happening is in order to limit climate change, to save on fuel, instead of stepping down from flight level to flight level, where you can comfortably just
where you can avoid the turbulence, which is known where it is.
Yes, it's called PIREPS, the pilot's report. Hey, we got some chop here at this level. Okay, we'll send everybody a little bit higher. No, we can't do that. We have to idle the engines and glide all the way down.
It was a frightening scene this afternoon for passengers and crew on Allegiant 227. The flight from Asheville to St. Petersburg Clearwater was in descent when, per FlightAware, the plane dropped more than 4,000 feet in less than a minute.
Allegiant 227, we have multiple head injuries and one broken ankle.
2 2 passengers and 2 flight attendants were taken to the hospital. 179 passengers and 6 crew were on board. One passenger told our Tampa affiliate she saw a flight attendant being thrown around the cabin.
All of a sudden, then we hit a major turbulence where literally she flew up in the air like Matrix is the only way I can think to describe it.
This is at least the 3rd incident in recent months involving serious injuries. And tonight, the airline tells us it will be investigating this incident in coordination with the NTSB and the FAA. Nora?
That is some scary turbulence, Manny Bojorquez. Thank you.
So let's get into this climate change turbulence.
Before we do that, let's make mention of the fact that this new FAA dude doesn't have a pilot's license, never doesn't fly much. Is a bonehead, doesn't know anything about the business.
Oh, well, who cares? It's Bidenomics.
I remember back in the old days at PC Magazine.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
You couldn't get a job at PC Magazine unless you were a computer hobbyist. You knew something.
You had to have a PC.
And I was always told, well, that we do this because all the flight, all these different magazines about flying. I think flying was one of them.
Yeah.
Which was a Ziff Davis magazine for a while. He always put ING at the end of his.
This was the whole Ziff Davis empire.
You couldn't write for that place. You couldn't be an editor.
Unless you were a pilot.
Yeah.
Of course.
You have to know something to be in the business.
Let's go to CBS. And let's talk to an expert on climate change. An intro.
Last week saw 4 days of record temperatures, and this week is expected to be even hotter. We now want to welcome to the program Kate Calvin, NASA's chief scientist and senior climate advisor. Good morning.
Good morning.
You already know from that voice it's going to be a good one.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm the chief climate advisor. Okay.
I'm a climate expert. Good morning.
Here we go.
I'm excited to be able to ask you some of these questions that I think a lot of people...
Why is she laughing?
Because she's excited.
I'm excited to be able to ask you some of these questions that I think a lot of people are wondering this week.
That's just odd. Is she really excited to talk to the NASA climate advisor, or is she excited because it's bull crap? What do you think?
Maybe she's flirting with her.
Oh,
I'm
she a cutie? You saw the two of them.
Super cute.
Be able to ask you some of these questions.
Yeah, she's an advisor. Yeah, advisors are never ugly. Have you noticed this? Just saying.
I'll start to pay attention.
Yeah, please do.
I'm excited to be able to ask you some of these questions that I think a lot of people are wondering this week in particular.
It's almost like the Bandcamp girl.
Why is the weather so extreme?
Why? Whoa! This is an in-depth interview, ladies and gentlemen. We're going straight to the jugular.
Back up. Stop a second. Now, where was this?
This is CBS.
CBS, the network.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
In particular, why?
It's Face the Nation, to be exact.
With Laura.
Not just any old show. I mean, this is the big show.
She's a Hillary lookalike. When they did during I just want to mention this to everybody so we're reminded.
Okay.
Laura Brennan, who does that show currently.
Margaret
Brennan.
Laura Brennan. From now on, she's Laura Brennan. It's good to go. Laura Brennan.
Margaret Brennan, who does that show, and during the COVID era, and when she was working out of her house, they interviewed her just casually for something, and she had the hair clip on and the hair done a certain way. She looked in her house in her normal environment. She is a dead ringer for Hillary.
In her younger years.
No, this was during COVID. This is like...
No, I mean Hillary in her younger years. Hillary's not Margaret.
Yeah,
Brennan.
not current Hillary, no. Nobody looks at it. No.
Old Hillary. All right, here we go.
In particular, why is the weather so extreme? Can you explain that for non-scientists?
Oh, for John, it's us. Here you go. She's explaining it for us.
Yeah, so climate change is driving increases in temperature overall. We also have natural cycles that affect temperature, and so the one you're hearing the most about in the news is El Nino or La Nina. So El Nino years tend to be warmer than La Nina. 2022 was a La Nina year. It was actually the warmest La Nina year we've ever had. It was tied for 5th warmest overall. We're now moving into El Nino. So the combination of climate change and El Nino means we're seeing higher global temperatures, and that brings with it impacts all around the world to people, ecosystems, extreme events, and other changes that are impacting communities.
Now, do you feel she explained well what happened here?
Didn't say anything.
No, she just said El Nino, Nina, Boo.
Temperatures going up.
Temperatures going up.
So ocean temperatures are rising, as I understand it, and that.
As I understand it, there's no evidence of this ocean temperatures are rising. They're just making that up.
Factors into this. Can you
As I understand it.
So oceans absorb a lot of heat, and so we are seeing increases in ocean temperature. When we identify El Nino, it's based on ocean temperatures in a particular part of the Pacific. But the thing to keep in mind is, oceans are actually, land is warming faster than oceans. So the places where we live are warming faster than the ocean. So while we are seeing these increases in ocean temperatures, we're also seeing increases in temperature over land.
Again, no explanation. She just saying, ocean temperatures are right, but land temperature is rising faster. Well, who cares? That's not an answer. That doesn't explain why it's happening.
It's just saying stuff.
All right, let's get to something I know something about, which is about the FAA.
The turbulence.
The turbulence, thing. Yes. So again, in order to, and this is not just is FAA, it's the airlines as well. They don't care about you. Enjoy your bumpy ride down.
Yeah, hell with you.
We're saving gas here, people, which the airlines love that. They love this.
Yeah, more
this
money
directive.
for them. If they can get any excuse to save some cash, sure, it's money in the bank. It's a bottom line.
They could actually charge more for the airline that gives you a Matrix experience. But no, they haven't figured that one out yet. Let's talk about the severe turbulence.
So NASA has been doing these reports where you're crunching some of the data.
Ooh, John. She's crunching some of the data.
She's crunching it.
Crunching it. Crunching the data. Not just just crunching.
It's like writing it on her stomach and then doing a crunch.
or like cereal. Crunching.
So NASA has been doing these reports where you're crunching some of the data to understand how to plan going forward. I was looking at one of them. It says there's going to be severe turbulence with airlines over large regions of the northern hemisphere. Are we already seeing that, and why would that happen?
So we are experiencing impacts of climate change everywhere around the world right now. Mm-hmm. There's different impacts in different regions. I think what's important to keep in mind is that climate change is more than just temperature. It's also affecting things like the water cycle. So we're seeing more heavy precipitation events, more droughts. We're seeing increases in extreme events like storms. And we can see those, and those impact how we travel, human health, agriculture, and all aspects of our lives.
Did she answer the question? She said nothing about turbulence. Oh, no, it's impacting us. It's everything, everything. But she didn't answer the turbulence question. Well, let's try again.
With the planes.
Planes, you moron. I asked you about the planes.
With the planes, how certain are you that this will happen, or is it already happening?
So there's studies that indicate that you can see increases in turbulence linked to climate change. At NASA, some of what we do around aircraft, we have a large aeronautics research team, but we look a lot at how transportation affects climate. So not just climate affecting transportation, but also how it affects it. And so we do a lot of research into making planes more efficient so they use less energy and generate less emissions and contribute less to warming in the future.
Yes, by making them coast down. She did not answer the question. She's not answered a single question, this woman.
I think this is the only show that has that answer to that question.
Yes, and we got it straight from the aviation community. All right. Now, it's not just air transportation. Oh, no. Climate change is impacting every kind of transportation.
So there are also transportation issues along the Mississippi River mentioned in the report. Cargo shipments have been impacted by rivers.
Turbulence on the Mississippi.
So how do industries who have to plan ahead and businesses that have to plan ahead take this into account? How prepared are we?
No, they do.
So one of the things that we work on is trying to make sure people have access to the information that can support planning. So for river flow, we actually launched a satellite in December called SWAT. That's going to give us the first global survey of water running through rivers and lakes. So we'll be able to see how much water is running through those rivers and how that changes over time. And that kind of information can be used to better plan in the future.
So she just sold a service, but she didn't explain why the transportation is affected on the Mississippi River. We still don't know what's happening.
And so NASA would share that?
Sell it.
All of our data is publicly available. And one of the things we're working on now is making it easier to use so that you don't have to process raw satellite data. But instead, we give you an indicator that you can interpret and use in your planning. So as an example, we have a tool that's designed for farmers that helps them understand how much water their fields are losing.
Hold on. This uptalk is great. Farmers, how much field of water are using?
Indicator that you can interpret and use in your planning. So as an example, we have a tool that's designed for farmers that helps them understand how much water their fields are losing, so they can better plan their irrigation.
Oh, losing. Losing. All right. Maybe the next question will get some actual answers. How is climate change really affecting us? And can you explain why?
NASA also put out a report in May that says climate change is contributing to a rise in Lyme disease, possibly. More mosquito-borne illnesses as well. Seasonal allergies are getting worse. I know plenty of people who are complaining about their allergies these past few weeks.
That's because their immune systems are shot from the vax.
My eyes were watering. How concerned do people need to be?
So there are a lot of effects of climate change on health. In terms of mosquitoes and other diseases that are carried by insects.
Okay. Malaria! Let's see if she explains it.
What climate change can do is change where the geographic extent of those species. So, mosquitoes need hot conditions. They need water to breed. And so what climate change can do is change that extent so that we see in places where you have malaria, it could shift more northern latitudes or higher altitudes. But there's other effects of climate change. You mentioned pollen. One of the things that we saw here in the northeast of the U.S. recently was about wildfire smoke. Mm-hmm. So there were wildfires burning in Canada, and the smoke from that came into the U.S.
And that's from climate change.
And led to air quality concerns all across the northeastern U.S.
The fires in Canada were not from climate change. They're fires. See, the stuff doesn't self-ignite from climate change. It's so hot. It's just stuff was igniting. No, some of them were set intentionally. Some of them were... Always fires burning. It's a little bit more this year, but okay.
Can I go off a sidetrack just real quick since it was mentioned?
Yes.
I'm now of the opinion that Lyme's disease is a created product from the germ warfare center that was running out of Plum Island. Look it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the Lyme's disease started floating around that area because a tick escaped from the lab. The lab tick escape theory.
Plum Island. That's New York, right? New York, Plum Island? Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
We got to stop doing this work.
No, man. It's the ancient microorganisms that are coming back to life.
But some of it sounds like a science fiction movie in terms of fear. There's something in here about frozen Arctic soils unleashing ancient microorganisms.
Oh, yeah. Here's the money shot, baby.
Has that happened yet?
So, in the far north of the world, the soils store a lot of carbon, and there's methane underground. And so, as that thaws, scientists expect that you would see some more emissions associated with it. So that as you warm, you could trigger more emissions, and that's what's driving the warming that we're seeing now is greenhouse gas emissions. So things that affect those emissions will affect climate.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
And you're going to continue to make this publicly available.
All of our data is publicly available, and we continue to add to it. So we're able to absorb more about the planet and help people better prepare for the future.
Prepare.
Wow, yeah. So
this should make her publicly available.
For download, for crunching. The kids are leaving for Austin today. So they've been here, for their almost 2 weeks. It's been a great visit, and they're going to spend 2 days in Austin before they fly back to Rotterdam. And I've learned so much from them. And it kind of this millennial here, this triggers me. She might even be a Gen Z. I'm not sure. It feels like something broke. Like Bidenomics is what it would be called, but like the depression is hitting. 4 of their friends have lost their jobs. We know multiple millennials who all of a sudden they're losing their jobs. bicycle companies going broke. I mean, all kinds of things just happening.
They're closing the Anchor Steam Beer Company in San Francisco.
Disney World is almost empty.
Ooh, time to go.
Yes, time to go.
I see that as an opportunity.
We've got the Teamsters talking about striking. But probably the one that I'm most excited about is the actors.
If this
dispute supposed to go out this afternoon.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to play the clip.
If this dispute does go ahead, if the actors do go on strike, it will make the writers' strike really look like a walk in the park. Let me just give you a few numbers to compare. The Writers Guild of America has about 11,000 members, and them going on strike was already enough to shut down about 80% of all productions in the film and TV industry. The SAG-AFTRA union, which represents mostly actors, but not only, they also represent broadcast journalists, stunt performers, DJs. Well, they have about 160,000 members. So really, if they do end up going on strike, we would see essentially just a total shutdown of the film and TV industry. The only productions that wouldn't be affected would be those involving non-unionized actors. Let me give you a few consequences just by using two big examples. We mentioned right now the Barbie movie. We've also got the Oppenheimer movie, both very big movies expected to be released here on July 21st in the United States. Well, we all know that advertising and promotion are very important in the last few days and the first few days before and after a release. And if the actors do go on strike tonight at midnight, which is the deadline, well, we can expect actors to be banned from taking part in press junkets, fan events, premieres. They will not be expected to go to the San Diego Comic-Con 10 days from now, where many actors are supposed to appear. And most surprisingly, perhaps in this day and age, is that many of these actors will not be allowed to advertise their own movies on their own social media accounts. Woo! And looking farther ahead, of course, we've already seen some pretty significant effects on the fall TV season, which begins usually around mid-September here in the U.S. Well, of course, if the actors do end up going on strike, we will be increasing chances of looking at much shorter TV seasons with a smaller number of episodes for the upcoming TV season.
So when I was a kid, the season was 35 episodes, and some of the shows ran an hour and a half.
So I'm very
shorter.
I'm very sorry.
Some of these shows run 10 episodes as the season.
I'm really sorry for the actors, and but Hollywood, the M5M is broken. I would recommend that you cancel your Netflix, cancel your Disney Plus, cancel your Hulu, cancel your cable if you haven't already, and support podcasts.
Go podcasting!
We're not striking. We don't strike. We bring quality entertainment 6 hours a week. That's half a season. By some accounts, it's 2 seasons.
Yes. 1 week of our shows is a half a season of most of these so-called series.
Exactly. So,
And by the way, does anybody think it might not be a coincidence that they're doing this or going to let them strike? Because the Barbie movie, which, if you think about it, is probably a turkey.
Well,
and Oppenheimer looks boring, and they're already thinking that it's going to be kind of like a dog.
Yeah.
And they're promoting the hell out of it. I mean, Tom Cruise wanted to get his movie out on the 4th, knowing that this was going to come down and at least get some money
his
in for
movie
it.
The theaters might close. Think about that. The theaters could actually close, which is exactly what they want, because Sound of Freedom has to be suppressed at all cost.
All right, well, since we switched gears, good one.
Thank you.
Sound of Freedom. So I have one clip about it.
I know.
Because but there's plenty of clips, and they're mostly on TikTok, but there are also a lot of them on Instagram. This is the woman who does Libs of TikTok.
Yes.
Now, I've been reading stories saying, well, I don't know, it's a bunch of bull crap. This is exaggerated, that they're turning down the air conditioning and they're doing this, and the AMC movie chain in particular doesn't want to show the movie, so they're because they got a bunch of lefties in there. They're doing this.
Let's just review. This is the movie based on a true story, and there's an Operation Underground Railroad. Is the documentary you want to see? It includes the real. I put it in the show notes. Includes the real guy. And it's not it's not dramatized. It's actual footage of these rescues. And the mainstream, for whatever reason, immediately, and I think it's, I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, because, they're all adrenochrome junkies. Maybe. But more likely is we have to get people to see their crap, like the dumb Barbie movie, and you can't be spending your money on something that, might be counterproductive to everything they're about.
Well, especially when the joke of it is, I don't know, there was a South Park incident about this.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Where Mickey Mouse comes in and beats the crap out of a couple of guys especially the guy who, they had this movie. Disney owned this movie
3 years ago, I think, right?
Yeah, and they said, hey, and they shelved it.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot with movies.
Yeah, it does. But to shelve a movie that then becomes a hit is embarrassing.
Yes, especially since it was a bunch of Jesus freaks who got it distributed. Big problem.
Yeah. So I think the Jesus freaks getting it distributed probably had a lot to do with the trying to suppress it. And that's why Rolling Stone and all these other guys. But so the latest news, you see, even though nobody's got any witnesses, they say, no, none of this is going on. There's fine. A movie's being played left and right. So the clip I have is a credible source, as far as I'm concerned, is that woman that runs Libs of TikTok, Chaya, whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. She's believable, credible, and everything in between. And here's what happened to her.
Hi, everyone. So last night I went to watch the Sound of Freedom movie. And it's very interesting because CNN and Rolling Stone and Washington Post and The Guardian, they were all publishing articles about how the movie is related to QAnon and conspiracy theories. So that alone told me that this is something that they don't want you to watch, which is why you should definitely go watch it. Additionally, I also saw some reporting of people who were saying that weird things were happening when they were trying to go see it in theaters. Like the air conditioning wasn't working or their tickets were canceled. And when I went a couple minutes into the movie, the fire alarm went off. The entire building had to evacuate. And about 15, 20 minutes later, it was resolved and we were able to go back in and resume the movie. But we were missing half the audience now. But I did stay until the end, and the movie is excellent. It was educational and inspiring and eye-opening. I was not even aware of the extent of the child sex trafficking industry until I watched this. The U.S. is in the top 3 countries for destinations for child sex trafficking victims.
Phone finger number 1.
It's a $150 billion a year industry, and there are millions, tens of millions of children who are currently trapped in sex slavery. So it's heart-wrenching. There were people in the audience who were moved to tears, and really inspiring too, because at the end, I know for myself, I left and I was like, what can I do to help raise awareness about this? What can I do to help these children? So I'm passing on the message. I hope you do too. Go see the movie. It's a must watch. Bring your family, bring your friends, tell everyone you know. Go watch Sound of Freedom. Something has to be done about it. Something really drastic.
Yeah, I'm going Saturday. And it will be an AMC theater, so it'll be fun to see what happens.
And you may have a story to tell because everyone goes to the AMC theaters. The air conditioning story is the main one. They've got the place so hot, it's unbearable.
Now, I will say, in addition to that with 106 degrees in Texas, air conditioning does break down. It's going
to be a problem anyway. Okay.
I'm just saying it does break down. Stuff does happen. But Grand Duke David Foley's been sending me TikTok after TikTok of these reports. And it wasn't until you had the Libs of TikTok lady that said, yeah, okay, this is a good report, and I'm glad you clipped that. I mean, I've just been seeing it. Like, yeah, I mean, you know how these things go. People, they're doing all this stuff, and they're trying to suppress it. But it really does seem like it. And especially if you take into account the articles that we've been reading. Well, it's just a bunch of nut jobs.
But who's they is the question in my mind. Who at the Rolling Stone and the Guardian and all these places? What's the bone they got to pick? Who's behind this? Who's pulling the strings?
You know, it's just one of those things that the New York Times was reasonably fair. Not a very long review, but they just had kind of it's not all that great. it's a confluence of things, and then you know how these newsrooms work and how editors are, and it's just, they're dipshits, and
they are dipshits,
and they're
especially
political.
The editor-in-chief usually.
They're all political.
Me.
Yeah, they're just all political. All right, so now here's another story that we haven't focused that much on, and this is excess deaths. And I've been following it in the UK. The UK, it's a real story. It's mainstream. And of course, it's
because they are very open with their numbers.
And it's obviously it's not from the vaccine. Of course, it's from COVID. All right, it's COVID, not from the vaccine. It's from COVID. Although interesting to see stories pop up that apparently Pfizer actually sent a lot of doses to the EU that were placebos, about 30%. And there's questions, there's no answers. And, so the yellow...
This has been actually documented. I've heard this story, too.
Yeah, it's... let me see who documented this.
It's a scandal if true.
Well, and the question is why? Is it A, because they were still testing stuff on people? Or is it because they knew that it was hurting people?
If you're going to do a real test... And you're not going to do the normal test the way you're supposed to, and you're going to have to test it on the public itself. You have to use placebos.
But vaccines...
To get your numbers back. But then you'd have to admit you did that. And this is like a liability issue.
Well, no vaccines in the U.S. are tested with placebos. This is one of Bobby the K's main gripes about it. Not a single vaccine needs to be tested in the United States in a placebo trial. It's just you don't need to do it, so they don't do it. Now, there's I put a lot of articles in the show notes, which is handy to have, nashownotes.com. But the one that really got me is his article in the Volkskrant in the Netherlands. And the Volkskrant is very left-wing, but very intellectual newspaper. I mean, if you don't read the Telegraaf, if you read the Volkskrant.
Funny, it sounds like if I was just listening, I'd say the name of the newspaper is the Fool's Grump.
Well, it's the folk, the newspaper of the people, the Volkskrant.
Oh, the people's world.
And so they talk about that the government, they did their annual budget. Of course, the government. We'll have to talk about the Dutch government. Obviously, the cabinet fell, and now Mark Rutte he's leaving politics altogether, which is another interesting thing. But the government was really happy because they actually were able to make the budget kind of work this year. And the Volkskrant writes it was good luck. And the good luck was the Ministry of Education had a 490 million euro lucky break.
Surplus?
Not surplus, but it was a break. So, there's never a surplus anywhere. But hey, we had an extra 490 million euros because less students will be attending school. And they also had 270 million euro lucky break because there'll be less social security payments because of, and I quote the Volkskrant, mysterious excess deaths. So the government is now saying...
So you're reading it right from it says mysterious excess deaths.
De mysterieuze oversterfte die ook na corona blijft aanhouden. You heard the mysterieuze oversterfte. Mysterieuze, mysterious, oversterfte, excess deaths. This, now it's true. So this is a real thing and it's happening everywhere. And of course, it's from COVID. It's not from the vaccine at all. But if we listen to people who guaranteed have been quadruple, if not quintuple boosted, you gotta kind of question stuff.
COVID pandemic officially ended earlier this year. And for most people, life is back to normal. But not for Dr. Michael Osterholm. The expert at the University of Minnesota became a household name during every stage of the pandemic. Investigative reporter Ryan Race went to find out what he's doing now that the biggest health crisis of our lifetime is over.
Are you eating in a restaurant now and able to relax?
Well, unfortunately, I am. And I say unfortunately in that I recently had COVID.
3 years into the pandemic, and Minnesota's most famous infectious disease doctor finally became a statistic. In March, Dr. Michael Osterholm not only got COVID for the first time, but is now suffering from long COVID.
It's been a difficult few months, so I'm feeling it. I can't do many of the athletic things I did before.
Osterholm is the longtime director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota. He also worked for the State Department of Health and the CDC. But during the pandemic, his projections and downright scary predictions earned him the nickname Dr. Doom.
So this guy has long COVID. He sounds horrible. He has trouble breathing. He can't do, quote, athletic exercises. He's on death's door. And you know that he's the guy that was just vax, get everybody vaxxed.
Did they ever find out how many times he got the jab?
I don't have that information. But now I'm...
By the way, this clip of the day.
Oh, well.
Telling you in advance.
All right, thank you.
This guy...
Clip of the day.
This guy was one of the worst of the bad actors out there.
We would have millions of deaths. Millions in America.
Yes.
So, but now I'm thinking there's something else up. Now, this is a complete conspiracy theory of my own.
Oh, here we go.
And I'm going to play a clip from Time Magazine because what if we have people dying left and right and we have to explain it somehow? We can't, it'll be great to say, hey, we got a huge benefit in Social Security, everybody, because people are dead. So, hey, there's more for the people who are living. That's
the thing is, you don't get more.
Well, shit.
I can tell you that.
There's less pupils per teacher. What a great benefit. So now we know that this is not because of COVID, and the reason why is because countries that did nothing as recommended. No, actually, let me. This is a short clip, so I'll just play this just so you understand. It's Bobby the K on Waters.
And you think Fauci is the devil? Would you prosecute him if you ever got to the White House?
If there were crimes that he committed, of course we would. I would tell the Attorney General to prosecute him and not hold off. Do I think that he committed crimes? I think he caused a lot of injury. I think that he, particularly by withholding early treatment from Americans, we racked up the highest death count in the world. We only have 4.2% of the globe's population, but we had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country, and that was from bad policy. There's countries that did the opposite of what we did, that provided ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, other early treatments to their populations, and had 1/200th of our death rate. So there are many, many things that we did wrong in this country, and some of those were, I would say, knowingly. That some of the things that were done by public health officials at that time, that they knew that they would be harmful to.
Now, besides the fact that we know from the actual people who instruct ventilator operators that the protocol was killing people and was a known death protocol, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine were deemed insane, crazy, horse paste, can't take it, no good, because by regulation, I don't want to say by law, but by regulation.
By edict.
Yes.
Despite the fact that ivermectin as a generalized product, which was antiviral, anti-worm, anti-parasite, it won a Nobel Prize, and it's required to be in all the medical packs the UN gives out for, third world countries. One of the greatest products in recent history. As a generalized cool thing, it's astonishing to me that they pulled this off.
So in addition to that, by edict, as you said, or by regulation, you cannot mandate under emergency use authorization a vaccine if there are treatments. So that's why it had to be demonized. This is not a stretch at this point to believe this.
No, this is obvious.
Cancer,
and we've discussed this a million times.
Cancer is exploding everywhere in the world. Funny enough, if you look in the United States, in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, where the where the Amish live, who have no vaccines, certainly not COVID, no one died. One guy, there's word that maybe 5 died, but there's really only one guy, and we're not sure that one guy actually died of COVID.
The one guy, they still sketchy.
Now, in the UK, I'm going to get to this, what I think might be going on here. In the UK, they had this huge scandal, I tell you, because apparently some BBC presenter was buying naked pictures from a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah, they identified the guy finally.
Yes, and they identified him, and his wife actually identified him and said he's in the hospital now for severe mental issues, pay no attention. But what is going on simultaneously is the COVID inquiry. This is not headline news in the UK, where it's coming out now that the lockdowns were wrong, everything was wrong, the numbers were wrong. They are pretty transparent in the UK with the numbers, but what do? Just put some gay thing, gay boy, something, put it on the front. Everyone's talking about that. Even though this news was known for months, it's not like new news. Okay. So if you have all this going on, and we have people dying, and idiot podcasters are going to start asking questions like, what could be going on here?
And by the way, the term turbo cancer has cropped up.
Oh, I hadn't even heard that. Turbo cancer.
Yeah. Turbo cancer.
Turbo cancer. Well, enter what I think is the perfect solution. It will identify demons who are responsible for cancer and for death, and listen to, this is a really shit report from Time Magazine, but okay, they're a print publication, but they have a video with a guy just reading, and you can hear him swallowing and moist, and it's horrible.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. But
thanks for the setup.
I think this is what's going to be used as an excuse, and we've been tracking it, and it's been cropping up more and more in the past couple of weeks.
If you're like 97% of Americans, including newborns, your blood is contaminated with PFAS or PFAS. That's very bad news.
So I think, and you'll hear this in a moment, they are going to blame turbo cancer, excess deaths on PFAS, and this will be a huge bonanza for lawyers. And
this is also has to be part of this forever chemicals.
That's what this is. PFAS is the forever chemicals.
Okay,
Here we go.
First developed in the 1940s, PFAS, which stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, have grown into a class of more than 12,000 chemicals used in thousands of products, from food packaging to clothing, shoes, firefighting foam, cosmetics, contact lenses, wall paint, toilet paper, cookware, and even feminine hygiene products.
So there's no escaping. No one can escape these forever chemicals. No one can escape them because they're everywhere.
Oil, oceans, lakes, streams, and the rain itself are all contaminated with PFAS. The exposure to certain levels of the chemicals have been linked by the Environmental Protection Agency to a long list of health effects.
Okay, now let's evaluate these health effects. Let's see if there's any slight overlap with, vaccine adverse events,
including decreased fertility, high blood pressure in pregnant people, increased risk of certain cancers, developmental delays, and low birth weight in children, hormonal disruption, high cholesterol, reduced effectiveness of the immune system, and more.
Sounds the same to me.
The The natural impulse to news like this is to say that somebody should pay for fouling the planet and fouling our bodies.
Let's go get him. Let's point to a villain.
So badly. Now a number of somebodies are paying indeed. In early June 2023, DuPont and its spin-offs, Chemours and Corteva, leading PFAS manufacturers.
By the way, this is a very typical thing to do. They do it in the medical industry. That's what Pfizer does. They do it in the chemical industry. DuPont will be fine. They're going to have these little entities that are the front companies. They get sued out of existence. And DuPont will be fine. That's why they have the so-called spin-offs. Yeah, it's the spin-offs. Yeah, let's get those guys.
In early June 2023, DuPont and its spin-offs, Chemours and Corteva, leading PFAS manufacturers, got out from under a little bit of the civil litigation that has been brought against them, reaching a $1.185 billion settlement with 300 local water systems that had sued the company for the costs of cleaning and filtering their wells and aquifers. 3 weeks later, 3M, another major PFAS maker, reached a much larger $10.3 billion settlement with 300 different water providers. But those agreements cover only a tiny fraction of the 15,000 lawsuits brought against those four companies and a handful of other smaller PFAS makers filed by state attorneys general, water systems, and individual plaintiffs.
It's a 17-minute video that I wouldn't want anyone to have to sit through. But this is such a multiple whammy because we're getting huge lawsuits, huge payoffs. And, slaves, you'll be able to get a little something. You could get $10 in some class action lawsuit. But also, they have, there's now these, I think we played on the last show, there's ways to fix the water. So they're going to, it's a complete takeover of your water by God knows who doing God knows what. And I think this is the plan. The plan is, I remember Teflon growing up in the Netherlands. Oh, no, Teflon's going to kill you. You're going to die.
Yeah. Well, that was here too, by the way.
Of course. But I grew up in Holland, not here. And Teflon was always going to kill us. Hasn't happened. I'm still here. While I don't doubt that there's harmful chemicals, this is too vast. They're just throwing everything into one big bucket and saying it's all PFAS. It's all, and we have a handy little reminder, forever chemicals. It's in the rain. Someone must pay. We have
how it gets in the rain.
Climate change. I don't know. But I think this is what they're going to blame everything on. You have
it's a good idea. I don't know if it's a grant. I'm not going to argue that it's not going to be what they're going to try to do.
Yeah,
it does definitely takes the focus off the COVID thing, which is slowly
clearly an issue.
Well, it's an issue that is going to take care of itself.
Well, let me just remind you from the last show, this water treatment, because of course we have problem, reaction, solution.
There's a disturbing new study out today about the nation's drinking water. Researchers found that nearly half of the tap water in this country contains potentially harmful compounds known as forever chemicals. They're linked to a wide range of health problems, including cancer, high blood pressure, and fertility issues. CBS's Mark Strassman takes an in-depth...
Same three, of course, it's a script.
So what are those three? Because those are the three that everyone's going to repeat.
Fertility issues, high blood... Let's listen again.
They're linked to a wide range of health problems, including cancer, high blood pressure, and fertility issues.
Cancer, high blood pressure, and fertility. There you go. It's perfect.
CBS's Mark Strassman takes
it's in your blood.
In-depth
look
at it.
I guess we forgot about the fact that the COVID vaccine would lead
to infertility,
if it didn't get into your system correctly, would go right to your nuts.
New technology.
Remember that?
Yes.
It was also giving women weird periods for like months on end.
Yes, and clots in your blood and all kinds of horrible things. Yes, horrible. Now listen to the solution.
But that's all forgotten?
that could make so-called forever chemicals disappear.
Nasty cargo, 10,000 gallons of landfill water laced with PFAS, a known carcinogen that nothing could get rid of until now.
We are concentrating the nasty stuff to allow the Annihilator system to treat it.
Not just treat PFAS, blast them out of existence. These so-called forever chemicals are man-made, used in Teflon, firefighting foam, even facial makeup.
Hey, Teflon's back.
Teflon. Yeah, Teflon, the big one, firefighting foam is the real one. This is the one that's been going on for quite a while because we had many lawsuits of firefighters, particularly military, who use the foam for, practicing for runway incursions, stuff like that. That has been successfully litigated over and over and over again, and people have, this is before COVID even, the firefighting foam is the one in there that I know is probably true.
Forever chemicals are man-made, used in Teflon, firefighting foam, even facial makeup, and previously indestructible.
This is where the PFAS go away.
Destroyed. That's correct.
Last year, we showed you Battelle, a nonprofit research institute doing a small-scale field test, distilling water into PFAS concentrate.
Yeah.
What makes it indestructible? Indestructible. It's like it's indestructible. Well, but they can burn it, but it's indestructible.
No, they can blow it up.
Doesn't make any sense.
They can blast it. Well, the point is, you need to hire this company to blast it.
Oh, yeah, we played this last show, and we decided it was a native ad.
Yeah. You want to finish it, or are you good?
I'm good. I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
You're going to blame everything. Yeah, you got to do something because this COVID thing is out. It's like getting, and like you mentioned, there's starting to investigate now, and there was some investigation going on in Washington that had something to do with this, and it was just nobody was going to play it on any of the news stations. Did I get a clip? I'm not sure.
I've got people texting me, emailing me, saying, "Oh yeah, this blasting the water is big. It's they're talking about it in our community, in our county."
Yeah, it's a moneymaker.
It's a huge moneymaker. Everybody scores. Everybody scores. Except us, stupid.
There's got to be some filtering technology that works on this stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy I have my own well. Now, while I'm on a roll, what was billed as our stupid, idiotic vice president was actually hugely eye-opening. I really enjoyed what Vice President Kamala Harris had to say about AI. You saw this clip going around?
I have the clip.
I have it too.
Do you have the short clip or the long clip?
I have, mine is 40 seconds. How long is yours?
Kamala on trend.
Where's AI? Let me see. Yours is 154. We're playing yours. Nice.
And I think
it's more. Wait. Mine's your clip, same clip. It said mine's more in context, so she goes on and continues to try to explain things.
I like it. I want to hear it. I'm excited. I'm jacked.
I'm surprised. Okay, go.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there and then we'll continue. So she gives away the entire plan right here. They know that AI is nothing more than some skip logic, but they also know that it's being positioned as, and there's movies coming out like Into the Light and we're all going to die and the AI is going to eat us and eat the world. I say. But they know that AI will be positioned as truth. It's already being positioned as truth. AI is scanning our podcast right now to tell advertisers not to advertise on it, which, of course, the AI is too dumb to know that we don't take advertising. But they want everything to come. It'll be computer says. And so no matter what, they want to make sure that there's no incorrect information being fed into the AI. That's what this is about. That's why they want an agency to regulate it. We want to make sure that the AI doesn't suck up any of that no agenda talk or MAGA talk or even libertarian talk or Bitcoin talk. I don't know. They want to make sure.
Actually, what you're saying is what she's going to say.
That will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process. So to reduce it down to its most simple point, this is part of the issue that we have here, is thinking about what is going into a decision and then whether that decision is actually legitimate and reflective of the needs and the life experiences of all people. And therefore, a big part of what we will also discuss then is the transparency in terms of the processes through which AI actually is having an impact on decisions. Do we understand the technology? Do we know what is going into the decisions that are being made? So this is a very multifaceted.
So when she says, do we know, she means, do we control?
Issue and topic. And we also know that that this is technology that is rapidly developing. And so part of the common purpose that we have is a sense of urgency that we get in front of this issue in terms of understanding the implications so that we can work as a community of folks, private sector, public sector, nonprofits, government, to do what is in the best interest of the health and safety and well-being of the people of our country. And ultimately, that's how I think about this.
So the UK always ahead, always a step ahead with letting us know about the excess deaths and all that. And this is from Reclaim the Net, which I think they're a pretty good organization. Headline: New UK law, which is the online safety bill, proposals will legally curb algorithms that promote Andrew Tate. Now, this is an extreme example. But that's the whole point. The AI cannot point 13-year-old boys towards a guy like Andrew Tate. This is.
It says that?
Yes, literally. This is the whole story is about.
It says that.
What? No, the law doesn't say that. No. This is interpretation of the law.
Did you say that, or does it say that in the article?
In the article.
Okay.
Yes. The UK's bold.
Well, I want to get your take on these. I have 2 more clips on AI that need to be discussed.
Yes, let's do it.
And one, we're doing the same thing you just described.
Mm-hmm.
This is the AI rando thought Schumer bill.
So I'd probably be more concerned about China's ability to steal our property than what they're going to innovate themselves.
Congress working with the private sector to make sure that we innovate way ahead of everybody else, but at the same time that there are safeguards so that innovation doesn't get out of control or be used for negative purposes is very, very real as well. It's going to be one of the hardest tasks that Congress has ever faced.
So Schumer has been pushing a bill that he says does have bipartisan support, but from the senators that we spoke with, we asked about this bill and the likelihood of it passing during this Congress. They said that they are very not familiar with this specific bill, but they say they do have an open mind. They say they just need to learn more about how legislation could actually move, as well as just learn more about the overall role that artificial intelligence actually plays in our nation right now.
So let's just, for no agenda purposes, whenever they say artificial intelligence, let's call it an algorithm. Let's just call it an algo. Have you noticed that TikTok has still not been kicked out of America yet? Have you noticed that? Do you think it could have anything to do with the fact that that this company is going to... there's a lot of money flowing right now in Washington, D.C., and TikTok's algorithms are doing a lot of good for a lot of people in D.C., particularly the trans-Maoism crowd.
I'm not going to argue that. I do want to play one more clip, though, because this is one other senator in Rubio talking about the fact what's happening. There seems to be a panic in the Senate.
Yes.
And that's why that's interesting that Schumer's got some bill that nobody's read, but it's already been passed, kind of.
However that works.
So let's go with this is the last one, then you can go from there.
I think one of the things we're not talking about is how disruptive it will be economically. AI will do to higher educated workers in some fields what globalization did to workers in American factories. It's going to put some people out of work. It'll create new jobs, but it's going to eliminate some jobs.
Anything that's harvesting massive amounts of data, you can always potentially use the data incorrectly. The AI does operate off a set of patterns, and the patterns can be wrong, right? So what's the validation of AI-related content? There's tremendous intellectual property concerns.
I think that's why they're running around. It's because of the intellectual property. There's a lot of money in intellectual property. And you already pegged this right off the bat, like all these lawsuits, they're definitely happening. And we're not just talking about songs.
The early lawsuits seem to be trivial and somewhat nothing to see here-ish.
Drone Dork Will gives us an update from the front lines Boots on the Ground report. As JCD predicted, the pushback to generative AI is here. As previously discussed, I'm with a big blue company. They've recently told us that we are not to use third-party generative AI tools for work as they may infringe on IP. Just use our generative AI. It probably needs training anyway. I feel like anyone with a brain could have seen this coming, but AI sure is bright and shiny. There are entire podcast companies now. Make your podcast with AI.
I'd love to hear an AI podcast.
They're shit. They're horrible.
I'm sure.
Do we use artificial intelligence for our transcript? Sure. And it still spells your name Jahnsi. And
it
John C.
doesn't seem to be able to learn anything else.
No, and I keep telling it that that's not right, but it won't listen to me. So these are just algos. It's not spectacular. In fact, it's so crap that no wonder they want to control it. Here, $2.2 million spent by federal government teaching kids how to build AI with critical theory.
Critical theory? You mean the Marxist approach to learning?
Yep.
Wait, read that whole thing again. What?
The National Science Foundation's Division of Research on Learning in Formal and Informal Settings awarded $2.5 million to Oakland, California-based nonprofit YR Media, a media, technology, and music training center and platform for emerging BIPOC content creators who are using their voices to change the world, to teach underrepresented and undeserved youth how to integrate critical theory with artificial intelligence technologies.
So in Oakland, they're teaching critical race theory, which is what they're talking about here.
Yep.
Critical theory, critical race theory, just part of it.
But the
critical
BIPOC,
theory, the Herbert
kids.
Marcuse crap out of the School of Frankfurt.
Yes.
Back in the 60s, bull crap.
Yes.
They brought it back. That's the whole basis of the Maoist stuff that we talk about on this show all the time. So our government is now funding this?
Yes. Correct.
Believable.
Well, it's not unbelievable. It's completely
unbelievable.
It's completely believable. Yes, sadly. There's another thing, just talking about algorithms, how we're feeding stuff. There are now 400 airports in the U.S. where the TSA is using facial recognition. And supposedly you're allowed to opt out of it, but no one...
I don't remember getting the form that I could opt out. And how would it know?
Well, no, here, let's see.
The guy comes in, that facial recognition thing on the screen says, he's opted out. We can't tell you who it is?
No.
That's the first guy I draw my attention to.
Apparently, you're allowed to say, hey, I don't want... Here, on his way to catch a flight, Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat of Oregon, was asked to have his photo taken by a facial recognition machine at airport security. TSA has been testing use of facial recognition software to verify travelers' identification at some airports. It's now 400. If you decline, a TSA agent is supposed to verify your identification, as has been done at airport security for years. When Merkley said no to the face scan at Washington's Reagan National Airport, is it Reagan? I think it's Reagan, isn't it? It's Reagan? Reagan. He was told it would cause a significant delay.
Wow.
It's time to opt out of this crap.
I love the bureaucrats.
It's really crazy.
Significant delay. The senator should have said, well, how many hours do you think it will delay? How many? Significant delay.
So, yeah. So they're pushing us towards this, but it will all be, everything will just be running on an AI. Will some...
It'll be running poorly.
It'll be running extremely poorly.
Yeah, that's what it does. And that's what all these technologies tend to do. They tend to, if you let them take over, they do a shitty job. They don't do a very good job. They don't follow up.
Because none of it's really any good.
They make mistakes left and right with false positives and false negatives. It's just it's disastrous in that regard.
And right on cue.
But it's cheap. It's like we're the Chinese now.
Yes.
Best price.
Right on cue, Elon Musk comes out with XAI.
XAI, like
X.AI.
He loves the letter X.
Today we announced the formation of XAI. The goal of XAI is to understand the true nature of the universe. You can meet the team. Ask us questions during a Twitter Spaces chat. Oh, tomorrow.
All men, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
Somebody spotted that early on. So there's not a female in the group.
Well, our team is led by Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX. We have previously worked at DeepMind, OpenAI, Google Research, Microsoft Research, Tesla, University of Toronto, Batch Normalization, Atom Optimizer, Layer Normalization, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, we've heard them all.
And then there's another one out there, Anthropic, an OpenAI rival. Well, this is a piece of junk. Anthropic.
Yeah, I love the name.
They have a chat bot, Claude. So, joining with Barf.
Somebody came out with the Neo Eliza.
Neo Eliza. Oh, I like that. So they've raised
started up
$750 million, valued at $4.1 billion. And literally, I ask a question like, "What are the two things Adam Curry is most known for?" And it just spits back some Wikipedia crap.
Yes.
It does, and even when I said, are you underplaying his role in podcasting? Yes, he was instrumental in making podcasting popular. Okay. So this is dumb.
Oh, so they didn't give you credit for podcasting right off the bat?
No.
What were your two things?
I was one of the first.
Your hair?
I was one of the first celebrities to have a blog. That's literally in my Wikipedia, which I'm not allowed to change, as you know. So. Anyway, Elon's under attack because...
You want me to go change it?
Yeah, please.
I haven't got time.
Elon's under attack for...
he's under attack? Well, now they're playing up this bullcrap cage match that's never going to happen.
Oh, man.
But Zuckerberg's so dumb, he's actually gotten a bunch of trainers, and you see, now he's buffed. He's kind of... It's like, Elon's not going to do this. He's not an idiot.
No, he's not.
This is a scam.
It's just distraction of crap. It's stupid. No, what's happening is the mainstream is trying to discredit Twitter. It's tanking. It's no good because Meta's Threads has hit 100 million users. Everyone's using Threads. Threads is where we all need to go.
Good promotion.
It's a great promotion, and they're buying
There's a TikTok. They just posted one thing on there, and they got kicked off immediately.
Off of Threads?
Yeah, for posting facts, as she puts it. I posted some facts. I got kicked off.
Very bad idea. Very, very bad idea. So, anyway, it feels like things are coming to a head. We got the Europe coming with the digital euro. People that have people that got no money. They're going to have to give people money again. Bidenomics.
How come they don't call it Biden-inflation? It has a better ring to it.
Some people.
I've never heard Biden-inflation.
Oh no, I've seen it posted. They're not going to call it that in mainstream. Hello. The 6 major banks wrote off over $5 billion in mainly credit card debt. Young women everywhere now are on the pay pig. Have you heard of this?
Uh-oh. No.
Pay pig? A pay pig is now there's not like, unfortunately there's no PayPig website. Well, there are, but a PayPig is a guy who pays, I think, as far as I know, mainly attractive young women to say stuff about them in their social media, and some of them want just to be humiliated. Some of them even give their password, like, here, just take any money you want. And what? Yes.
Oh, this is bogus.
No. I've been hanging out with the kids. Oh yeah, PayPig.
Are they involved with PayPig?
There have been offers. I could tell you what one of the offers was.
Yep.
I will not say which child.
I don't care. We don't care who the child is.
$300 to watch a guy drink his own urine.
Wait a minute. So let me get this. Let me kind of focus this. So a guy wants to drink urine.
His own.
Okay. Well, it could be. It could be lemon Kool-Aid for all we know. So I
think the whole thing was.
Does he have to pee it in there to show for a fact?
Yes. Yeah, I think that was part of the deal. That was part of the deal.
So this guy is going to go on cam.
Yes.
As the kids would call it.
Cam. Yes. On cam. Yes.
On cam and pee into a jar and then drink it while being watched by one of the kids. And the kids are going to get $300 to do this.
Up front. No, he'll pay him $300 up front.
Why don't they take it?
I didn't say they didn't, but that's not the point. That's not the point.
Seems like easy money to me.
I'm available. Yeah, but so that's a PayPig. That's a PayPig.
So who's the pig? The dumb shit giving the girls $300 to wash and pee?
Yes, that's the PayPig.
So they call PayPigs.
Yes. I actually thought I had a clip. Hold on a second.
I never heard of anything so stupid.
PayPig.
People are that bored they have that much time on their hands?
No, it's
money?
It's a part of what's happening in the world. By the way, you're on TikTok. You're Mr. TikTok. Here we go. I'll play you this clip. Here's a woman on TikTok.
Yes, there are men out there who want to give you money in return for absolutely nothing. There's nothing wrong in this. Basically, they're called PayPigs. Now, PayPigs are pretty common. You can find them on the internet. There are specific websites for this. But a lot of it comes through traffic on social media, where essentially fans, they fall in love with the person and they send them money as a thank you for creating content. However, PayPigs don't stick around for long. They usually demand a lot of attention from you because they feel that they own you or have kind of power over you because they've paid you or they're buying you gifts. Now, you'll find a lot of people on TikTok, for example, actually have PayPigs, and the PayPigs often feel used, because... well, they're not getting anything in return. So,
all right, so there's this clip after clip after clip of the PayPigs. Here's another one.
So basically, everyone's asking me for tutorials on how to get Sims and PayPigs, and the truth is, I don't find them. They find me after.
Yeah, they find you. So you post stuff on TikTok, and then the PayPigs contact you, send you money to do something.
You post what on TikTok to get contacted?
Just yourself.
Hi, I'm looking to look at some funny things.
Just be yourself. Just be a cute young woman on TikTok.
Here's what I'm going to... The cute young woman. I am so annoyed by the massive number. I think they're teens, but I've seen women obviously in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
They bend over, they turn on the cam, they stand there in front of the cam.
Yeah.
And then some music comes on and they either lip sync it or whatever they do some stupid dance.
Trolling for PayPigs. They
jiggle around and they move their arms and they move their hands and they go back and forth. It looks like a kind of a lousy version of a John Travolta dance, ad-libbed. And they diddle around on the screen and dance and dance and dance. And then they turn off the video. What is the point of these stupid chicks dancing?
Trolling for PayPigs.
That's got to be it.
Yes.
That explains it all now. I've been wondering, every once I'm going through, there's some dumb girl, I'll put it that way. She's kind of cute, maybe usually over made up, and wearing a nice dress. And then they do some stupid spasmodic dance that is like, what is this? And then by the time I'm grossed out by the lousy dancing, that goes on to the next clip. But that could be it. I could explain it all.
John, I'm really a little concerned about your media consumption.
Well, it does result in a lot of good clips. In fact,
oh no, here we go.
Now that you brought it up,
Talk TikTok.
All righty, here we go.
Okay, let's start with. I found this to be there's a bunch. Here's a couple of dietitians talking about the current state of eating.
The day thing, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is from colonialism and white supremacy. As if we didn't have enough good reasons to stop letting external cues tell us how to feed ourselves and start listening to our internal cues, here's another one. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate when crusty old white men tell me what to do with my life, or especially tell me what to do with my body. So eat what you want, when you want. There are no rules. Start listening to what your body is telling you.
This, by the way, I think is a pay pig troll. You crusty old man. Now, the crusty old man goes like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. I want to pay you to let me tell you what to eat. John, it's a sick, broken world, my friend. This is real.
Well, a lot of it has to do with social media, which you spotted very early on.
All of it has to do with social media. All of it. Bah.
Okay, here's another thing you run into.
I'm going to interject some things as you go through these TikTok clips.
Okay, well, as you see, I have more than one.
I have noticed this, yes.
Yeah, it was a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to this. Now, this is one of those guys, and this is very common. There's a bunch of looks. Besides the idiotic dancing, I just complained about.
Well, now you know what. At least we know we've figured that one out. That's pay pig trolling.
There's these looks that millennials have
with the eyes drawn in a point on the side, like that.
There's that, and there's a kind of a lot of smirk, and kind of like, my lips are sticking out. I'm smirking at you, and
you are such a cultural observant.
And then my eyebrows are going up in the middle, the two, so they're kind of pointing up and making a couple vertical lines there,
Yep.
And they're kind of like I'm talking like out of the side of my mouth a lot. I got to. Okay, well, here's a guy that's got every one of these looks, and he's a gender parent. He's practicing gender parenting.
If you're doing gender-neutral parenting, gender-creative parenting, what do you do when your kid is old enough to ask, hey, am I a boy or a girl? You and me already talked about this in the comments, but I thought it might make an interesting video because there's probably a lot of people with this question. You don't even need to be doing this parenting method to want to have sort of a more open-minded way to answer that kind of a question from your kid. And my answer here is actually pretty simple. I would just turn it back into a question. Ooh, it's windy out here. I might say, well, how do you feel? Do you feel like a boy, a girl, or maybe something else? How do you think we might figure that out together? Are you asking about how do you look on the outside, or are you asking about how you feel on the inside? Maybe we should go read a book about this together. I have some ideas. You want to go sit down and take a look? Maybe I would share how I know my gender identity. It's a question that gives you an opportunity to have a conversation, and that's a beautiful thing.
When I was a kid, my mom told me the story when she was still alive. We were out in the garden. I was about 6 years old. She was ready for me to ask the big question. And we're gardening. And I say, Mom. Yes, Adam. Mom, why is it that pirates have knives in their mouth, between their teeth? What happened between then and now that we're asking, am I a boy or a girl? Is this really happening? Is this really happening?
It is when you're gender-affirming parenting. When you have a freaky dad like this dude, it probably is happening because they're encouraging it. All I know is it's creepy. This guy's creepy. He's glib. He's got all those looks I was bitching about.
Do you think he actually has a kid?
He's got to. There's the ultimate question.
I'd like to point out that the New York Post cites a study. It was a poll, actually. It was a poll, so not a study, a poll of Brown University students. Brown University, I would say rather elite school, no?
Yep.
Elite school.
Ivy League.
38% of students identified as either homosexual, bisexual, queer, asexual, pansexual, questioning, or other. 38%.
Yeah, but that's Brown. I think that's always been the case there.
But the point is...
All right, it's out of the way.
The point is... that this is contagion.
Stanford's the same way.
It's cool, it's like it's the thing to say, so you're part of it. And
you're queer. Everyone's queer now.
Everybody's queer. Now there's
I'm not going to argue that, but that's kind of a disgusting number.
Now, along with these clips, I'm going to read this email to you. This is unfortunately it's not a great email from our parent whose stepson has he left the family and then he kind of came back for a moment, but then things went south again. This is the sissy hypno porn stepson, if you remember.
No.
He got sucked into the sissy hypno porn. The sissification pornography.
Oh, yes, I do remember. I don't remember the details, though.
Well, it's been a month since our son has talked to us. I'm sure he's experiencing shame and going back to his sissy hypno porn life. TikTok, I'm telling you, is designated to pit children against parents. It doesn't work when the parents drink the Kool-Aid. But just like in the Cultural Revolution, parents who denied the reality of the Great Leap Forward
Maoism.
Maintained relationships with their kids. I'm glad you enlightened me to the Maoist connection to all of this. I did a deep dive on the Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution. But this is something called kids are going no contact. No contact is what it's called. And they're being encouraged. Here's an article. More kids are going no content and cutting off their parents. So these ghouls who are sucking children, young men especially in this case, into the sissification porn, making them believe they're trans, and subsequently setting up OnlyFans for them so they can feel loved, just like the Wachowski sister. It's mental. It's completely mental. We've just got to call it what it is. But now we're into domestic abuse, a severe crime. British parents can be prosecuted by refusing to pay for transgender treatments, even of your spouse, and misgendering your child can get your child taken away from you. You got very quiet.
It's astonishing with this stuff, and that is not that little last bit has cropped up in Canada and it's cropped up here.
And I have an email to share from Anonymous. I am a CASA, court-appointed special advocate for foster children in a red state. There are a lot of Indiana listeners and people in other deep red states who may listen to your show feel protected against transgender ideology impacting them, especially when we've been told it's so political. After all, we live in red states with conservative politicians, so this can only happen to parents in Canada or California. In 2020, I had a court case involving the removal of a 13-year-old girl and her sibling from their home. The crime? The father misgendered her. She told her school guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor contacted the Department of Child Services, DCS. They removed the children in the middle of a school day. These children were placed in foster care, and their case was assigned to me. I attended supervised visitations. The counselor running the visitations would warn the father beforehand that if he misgendered his son, who was a 13-year-old girl, she would end the visit early because it was an act of violence causing harm. I petitioned the judge and implored Department of Child Services multiple times to close this case and put the children back in their home where they belong, warning that this was massive government overreach. It took 3 months for the judge to dismiss the case. 3 months that a normal parent fought to get his kids back. Side note, While in foster care, the children got the COVID jab against the will of the father. It wasn't until I demanded the father had final say over his children's medical care that this went before the judge, and he ordered the second dose not be administered without parental consent. I want to remind the No Agenda listeners, No Agenda Nation, this is a deep red county in a deep red state, and this was 2020, over 3 years ago. For parents who think the public school system is broken and in need of repair, be advised it's working exactly how it was intended to work, and things will only get worse. Compulsory education was designed to enslave and produce compliant consumers. Parents, stop blaming TikTok, social media, cell phones, and public schools, and start taking responsibility and ownership for what's influencing your children. And the end of... Then there's a couple of links in there for people to take a look at.
This is she?
Yes. This is, and one of our producers with this boots on the ground. And I really appreciate her taking some risk in telling us this. So this is what's going on. And this happened 3 years ago.
Yeah, so what's going on?
And I would have to say that's a Maoist movement.
It's totally Maoist.
Being controlled by the government.
Very well done. I mean, the one thing you have to say, if you're going to be honest about it, it's really well done.
Mm-hmm.
The Maoists behind it are just great. They're fantastic. And the general public seems to be oblivious, which is exactly what you want. A bunch of oblivious boneheads. And that's how you end up with that Brown University survey. Which indicate I would like you to read that again, because it's pretty interesting that this would be a situation which makes no sense historically. But can you read that Brown data again? Can you find it?
38% of students at the Ivy League school,
that's almost 40%,
identified as either homosexual, bisexual, queer, asexual, pansexual, questioning, or other. There you go.
Yeah.
And so when children
are... It should be 1%, 2%, yes, maybe 5%.
When children are convinced of these things, someone has a hold on them. And by the way, we're just going back to The Sound of Freedom, which is also about abuse of children, stealing children, selling children. God knows what they're doing. Look at the difference. Do you remember the Netflix series Cuties? Do you remember that?
Yes.
How fawning was the mainstream over Cuties?
I think we discussed it on the show as kind of a borderline disgusting show.
We certainly did. And now compare that to Sound of Freedom. Something is wrong.
Yeah, I'd say.
Proposed California bill would brand parents abusive if they refuse to affirm their child's gender. Brr.
Yeah, that's Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's pulling his strings, but somebody. The whole thing is ludicrous, and which brings us back to what happens to the people who are caught up in this. And I have two characters who are going to go on TikTok and moan and groan about being misgendered and what it really means to them.
Okay.
And I want to play the first one, which is the misgender pain.
I get so many comments like this, and I want to explain something. Being misgendered can be an incredibly painful experience. In that moment, we are reminded that the world places us into a bucket that we do not fit in. And it is incredibly traumatic to grow up being constantly told you're something you're not. So for a lot of people, being misgendered triggers that trauma. So if it looks like I'm mad, it's probably because I'm in a lot of pain. In the same way that when we stub our toe, we scream expletives because we're in pain. Also, us non-binary people were forced to educate ourselves on our own existence. So it can be frustrating when we see people who are not putting in the work and constantly making mistakes. And I know it is new. I know mistakes are bound to happen. And I have patience for people who are genuinely putting in the work. I know so many of you don't want to be hurting non-binary people, but the truth is when you misgender us, you are. And to expect us to hold your hand through it while we're being hurt, that's abusive behavior.
All right, so something I need to say about this. So what you're seeing here is not just someone's opinion and they're nuts. This is someone who has no other way to be an influencer, to get likes, to get traction, to get followers, to get kudos, to get whatever it is, whatever the reward mechanism is of social media, in this case TikTok, which I don't actually know, but you can surmise what it is. This is just another part of the reward loop. And so it's just another thing to talk about that you can get people going, yeah, that's right. You're good. I'm following you. Go slay, queen.
That's true.
And it's the same with.
It's like a troll.
Yes. Well, it's not. It's a reward system. It's the number one coveted job in the world now is influencer. Everybody loves getting kudos. Like, hey, I got some kudos. I got some likes. This is fantastic. I'm doing great. I'm popular. People love me. So if you have anything to talk about, and what's easier than to go, don't misgender me. It's harmful. It's hurting me. I can do that. Every you can do that. In fact, I think you should open a TikTok and be the old crusty white guy who's mad that he's misgendered. Put a wig on.
I can do it too.
You should do it, man.
I put wigs on for
yes, I know. I know about you and your wigs.
I'm talking about the other.
Yeah. This is it's an evil loop, and people are stuck in it. And even if this person's probably not a different gender at all. It's just a thing to do. And when you can say I'm queer, it's like I'm queer. I'm queer. Okay.
Well, again, this is where I part ways with your concept of things, because I believe these people are more sincere than you do, generally speaking.
Well, eventually you convince. I mean, yes, they're sincere. They're queer. Great.
I'm sincere. I'm queer. I'm sincere. Now, the thing that bothered me about this is this idea of putting in the work, and he said it twice.
Yeah.
Or she. I don't know. He never said on the thing what gender he, she, it is, but. Putting in the work, this is like, why should I do anything? I mean, the idea social cues were supposed to take care of this for me. So I saw somebody wearing a dress and it had a blonde wig. That's a she.
Yes.
It's easy enough when you're a little kid. And somebody wearing pants and, rough customer guy with a beard.
Mm-hmm.
He.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have to go beyond that because I don't need to put in the work on every individual that I don't even know who they are.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, the influencer has no gig. If we can't say you need to put in the work, which by the way stems from Black Lives Matter, do the work. Do the work.
No, I thought this was that stemmed from what was it? It was that woman that did the book on white privilege. It was white privilege.
Yes, white privilege, do the work. You got to be doing the work. Put in the work. You're not doing the work. I can scold you for not doing the work. That's what this is.
All right, so go to the next guy, another complainer. This is another misgendered poor soul. And this is the one who's not only misgendered, but misgendered and irked.
I genuinely think that people don't realize how deeply microaggressions and misgendering affect trans people in every facet of life. So here's the tiny example. I auditioned/interviewed for this film intensive, and one of the things I talked about in my interview was being a gender fluid actor and wanting to find affirmative spaces to tell queer narratives. One of the administrators who has her pronouns in her email signature pushes me on to the final round with this email that misgenders me 3 different times. My pronouns are in my email signature, my Zoom name, my resume, my application, and on my film reel. So I respond cordially and I add this. Before I've even met anyone for this final interview, I've had to correct an administrator in front of her boss, and I've already had to be on the defense defending my own identity. This just creates an awkward power dynamic that could have been completely avoided. And depending on this person's response, it can either be a non-issue or it puts me at a major disadvantage. This is something cis people just do not deal with. And it's also really easy to get someone's pronouns right, especially when you're typing them out.
Yeah, but this is the social control. This is transmaoism right here, the social control of pronouns. That's where it all started, and it's in the workplace. And people are afraid to just call bullcrap because you can get fired over it. It's a beautiful mechanism. And this has been going on for decades. And here we are. And by the way,
here we are with these stupid clips.
And the only gig we can get and keep is this, podcasting. Because
we only with the support of the people out there who produce the show.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage. Say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in sincerely queer. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to my friend on the other end, the one and only Mr. John C. Dvorak.
And hello, Mr. or in the morning to you, Adam Curry, who definitely does not want to hear a clip, I'm guessing. And in the morning to all ships, sea boosts and ground feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the days and nights out there.
In the morning to the trolls. in the morning to the trolls in the troll room. Let's count the trolls for a second. Hello, troll. Put your hands up.
They're running
away. Hold on. No. Scurrying away. 2015. That's good for a Thursday.
That's fantastic for a Thursday.
That's the new normal. And boy, let me tell you, this donation segment, we've got all kinds of groovy things to talk about. Some of the donations I peaked earlier that deal with this actual concept of trans-Maoism. People are donating. Before we get to that, a reminder that these trolls are listening. That they can listen live, like you, if you're not listening live, at trollroom.io, where we have the Troll Room and, of course, No Agenda Stream. You can even listen at noagendastream.com if you want. Or we recommend getting a modern podcast app at podcastapps.com. You can import all of your legacy podcasts, but you also get all the features, about 25 new features of modern podcasts. And when we go live, as with any other show that wants to do it live, boom, you get an alert and you can pop right into the Troll Room, listen to the stream live. It's a format we've been using for almost 16 years, and now it's in the apps. So why wouldn't you use it? Of course, you can also follow us at our social network without algos, no AI there, noagendasocial.com. Soon to be federated with Threads for about 10 minutes until they block us. Follow John C. Dvorak at noagendasocial.com, Adam at noagendasocial.com. And, of course, we are as we mentioned earlier, we are a value for value podcast. We pioneered the entire concept. You don't have to subscribe. We're not asking for tips. We're not asking for donations. What we're asking for is value. If you get value from what you heard, if you laughed, if you learned something, if you're able to, something from the show notes, which people find very, very valuable. We have all the clips from every show are uploaded there. All the stories we talk about, many of the boots on the ground reports. You can use that for your own reports, for just dazzling your coworkers, whatever you want. If there's value you get from it, send it back to us, whatever you find of equal value. That may be time, talent, or treasure. A lot of people put in treasure. We'll be thanking them. A lot of people put in time by hitting people in the mouth, letting them know about the No Agenda Show. I see it all the time on social media. Thank you. And, of course, we have talent. Lots of talent comes into the mix here. And we love our artists. Every single show, we have a new piece of art. It's fun. It's exciting. It gives the people love reposting it, so it's very helpful in that regard. And it's also not boring like every other podcast. And once in a while I get a note, I can never find the No Agenda Show on my podcast app because it doesn't have the handy artwork that looks the same every single time. Well, maybe you're not cut out for us.
I don't think anyone's ever said that.
Yes, someone tweeted it just last show. Just the last show. And I said, that may be. Well, that may be.
Is the words "no agenda" too hard to decipher?
Yes, because
put it in Google and find it right at the top.
These are people who have 8,000 subscriptions in their podcast app, listen at 4 times speed. I can't find that. I can't find that. That's too hard for me.
I cannot find it.
You watch, we're going to get a whole bunch of emails. I agree with that guy. He's kind of hard to find. We don't care.
That's a voice you should perfect.
How can I do? We don't care. Something like this. I can't remember what I did. Was that it?
That wasn't it.
No, I can't. I'll have to go back and listen. We want to thank the artists for episode 1571. We titled that one Ronk, which, man, a lot of people, that lady from the Ronk NPR interview, she's that conspiracy crew. She did a whole video on that thing. She is very Ronk indeed. You got, it's in the show notes. You got to take a look at what she. And some people said,
"Well, that you're talking about the woman who did the book. That was that. I don't think that was that the guest.
I thought the guest was the Ronk.
No, I thought it was the host that was the Ronk.
Well, I heard 2 things. I heard one, it was coke. Someone was coked out, like a coke throat or something. Another one was
you end up saying Ronk.
Ronk. And another one was Milieu, SoCal.
Yeah, well, it could be Milieu.
Anyway, Nestworks did a dynamite piece of art for us, and I can't wait to talk about the cluster bombs later in the show. This was the Cluster Duds. For those of you who are not familiar with Milk Duds in the United States, it's a loved candy. It was a persiflage of the Milk Duds. Bite-sized bomblets, 33 fragments, up-armored taste. It was just without. I mean, there were several other pieces of art that we liked, but this was beautiful. And there was in this case, in this show, there was at least 5 pieces that were all usable. There were. Now, we like this one also because it had the white background, which really makes it pop. What was the second version? And I'm not even sure. And then there was another version of almost the exact same art done by Parker Pauly. Yes, he had 1% duds, which was close. Let's see, what else was there? There was now honorary mention for the conspiracy-addled boomer cap. Yeah, I used it for the newsletter. Yeah, that was funny. It wasn't the best, but it was funny. What else? What else was on the high on the menu here? Fact check Ronk. And also no agenda is never Ronk. So there were multiple Ronk art people pieces. Like Ronk, but we wanted to title the show Ronk. That was obvious. So and we try not to title the show the same as the artwork. There were some cluster bomb jokes in there. Someone actually put your car in there. I was calling it your blogger, of course. What else? What else was there that we liked? Was there anything else? Everything was good. I just thought it was generally speaking. It was in general, and the artists are so talented. We love them so much. It's a competition. Was there anything we need to critique somebody? Did anyone do a really crappy job? Huh? I couldn't come up with anything. There's no harsh critique. We try to do harsh critiques. No, there's no harsh critique. Like something that should have won, but because they did this or that wrong. No. Now that I'm looking at it, Bowling for Ukraine, it's too complicated, but Francisco Where's that one? It's on the right-hand side. Francisco Scaramanga. He has beautiful fonts. He did something original for sure, but it just didn't have that X factor, And that was no good. And Dame Kenny Ben had the Suicide by Jet, which just no one you can't see that's a jet engine. Good try though. Good try. Yeah, we appreciate all of it. It's such nice use of your talent. And these are great artists because they do this while they're listening live. They just throw this together and get it up there. Because I kind of like Duds Away Touch Up by Sir Ned with the 33rd Squadron, F the EU, and Duds Away. That was nice. Yes, it's a patch. Yeah, I think it's a nice patch. That should be in the No Agenda shop. This patch, possibly. Anyway. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can see all of these pieces of art, and you can refresh it live. They're already uploading pieces for this episode. Or you can use one of those modern podcast apps. Dreb Scott does chapters for us and changes the art continuously. When you're in the car, if you're using CarPlay on some of these apps or Android Auto, you can actually see that art change right in front of you on your dashboard, which is also fun. It's great. Thank you, artists. We appreciate you. And, of course, thank you, Nestworks. Very well done. Now, let us thank some of the executive and associate executive producers for episode 1572. We call them everybody's a producer. No one's just a listener. Everybody produces somehow with your time, talent, or treasure. And just like Hollywood, when someone comes in with big bucks to help us out, you become an executive producer or associate executive producer. And we kick it off with Dame Meowdison from Altamonte. Is it Altamonte? Altamonte Springs? I think it's Altamont. Altamont Springs, Florida, with a favorite number, 456.78 in the morning. Gents, Dame Meowdison here, who I met in Nashville. She's fantastic. She's very funny. Dame Meowdison here, trying to keep it short and sweet. Jingles. Oh, I didn't, for some reason, I missed these from her. There's No There, a JCD classic. No There. Yeah, I got that one. An Amen Fist Bump, another No Agenda classic. Oh, love that. And Little Girl Yay. This donation brings me to Viscountess. Don't underestimate those monthly donations, y'all. You guys are putting out excellent material. Thank you as always. I'm also asking for travel karma as I head to Greece. I'll be celebrating my 35th birthday in Santorini on the 18th, so please add me to the birthday list. I look forward to catching up on new episodes when I return from vacation. What, do they not have internet in Santorini? Do you think she's just taking like a sabbatical from the show?
Some people do that.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's okay. We have no problem.
Leave your cell phone at home. That's the main thing.
Love and lit, Dame Viscountess to be Meowdison.
Right, exactly. Like there's no agenda.
No, that's not what I wanted. Where's the no there? Hold on a second.
Wow.
No there. Oh, that's weird. I don't have that one. Is that
you need AI?
Does that exist? There's no there?
I kind of remember it.
I can't remember. Well, I'm sorry. I'll have to look it up for you.
Amen. Fist bump.
No, that's also the wrong one.
That's the wrong one.
2 for 2. Amen. Fist bump.
I like that one though.
Yeah, but I'm 2 for 2. This is not very good.
Amen. Fist bump.
There we go.
Yay!
Oh man, so sorry about that.
You've got karma.
Thought I did a good job on getting the jingles. I missed yours, Dame Meowdison. I'll look for that JCD no there.
Surplus to requirements. Not quite sure what that all means, but 34543. And he sent a nice card that says thanks from all of us.
Oh.
And on the card, he says, we appreciate it. ITM gentlemen, thank you for what you do. Because of your hard work, your listeners are all better informed and therefore smarter than the man, quote unquote, the man wants us to be. The man wants us to be. Cheers, surplus to requirements.
Oh, thank you very much. Then we have, by the way, I did find another cool JCD jingle.
Me no like it.
I heard that one in a long time. Not bad. Sir RJ, Grande Pointe, Manitoba, California, 333.33. 333.33 is 461.45 Scandinavian. Your choice on which amount is credited. July 12th marks my 55th birthday. I request OG Sharpton Superclip, Sir RJ of Grand Point, Manitoba, Canada.
Resist, we must.
They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race, then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono, Fran Drescher, Sigourney Weaver,
this is a good
suspect Jahar Tsarnaev, Rush Limbaugh. The show Rush Lombard hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Is Mike Muckery yesterday, Antonin Scalia, Kim Kardashian, and the Republican candidates, both Cairo and Benghazi. We rank behind Lavita. First stop, Kazakhstan to college students in Beijing. He's getting lunch at Chipotle in Iowa. Bain is appropriate. The GOP's tax day giveaway to millionaires. Why was traffic problems email sent? The Environmental Projection Agency and what sequestration has done.
And the trolls are correcting me, saying that Manitoba is in California. That's not true.
No, Manitoba, he's in Grand Point, Manitoba, Canada.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, it says very clearly on here.
Yeah, it says it's super clear. All right.
Yeah, Grand Point, or Point, Manitoba.
Point. 12 points. You're up.
Oh, Chris Palmos is up. Not me. He's in Thomasburg, Ontario, Canada. We have 2 Canadians in a row. And he also came with the same 333.33. Now, all he has to say is, cheers, fellas. Christ. And then in the in parents is the word Christ.
Do you not understand that's a pronunciation guide? His name is Christ Palmos. Christ.
Oh,
as in Christus. Yes.
Oh, I
creased.
thought some note was creased. Oh, so he's okay. Let's start over.
Oh, please do.
Take it out.
All right,
cut it out.
I'll edit.
Creased. Palmas in Thomasburg, Ontario, Canada 33333. Cheers.
All right. Then, random number theory. Third Scandinavian in a row. Michelle Cartmel, West Bank, British Columbia, 333. Hey, John and Adam. I'm a little late on this year's annual donation, but we've been busy planning a move to Saskatchewan from our home in BC. Isn't that where all the money is, John?
Saskatchewan?
Yeah? Don't they have money there?
No, that's Alberta.
Oh. I decided I needed to donate to ask for house selling, buying, and moving karma. When I sat down to do so, the clock read 3:33. It was a sign. So here is said promised donation with the amount $3.33 USD. It's 464.36 in dollarettes, but it's just worth it. We value the show greatly. See, this is what I'm talking about. The only other thing I ask is for Adriel to be officially knighted. Adriel, I think. Adriel. We had put his knighthood into abeyance due to not having some kind of creative name to dazzle the listeners with, but it's been over a year and he hasn't picked one. So I've decided to go with Sir Adriel, Knight of the Free BSD. If he doesn't like it, he can request a change himself. Thank you both for your courage, Michelle and Adriel Cartmel, and here is your karma for all that.
You've got karma.
That sounds like Adriel is a Linux fan.
Free BSD is not the same as Linux.
Yeah, I know. It's better.
Okay. John at Dvorak.org.
Tom, in Minato-ku, Tokyo, Japan, and here we get another donation from out of the country. Even though PayPal, this is a funny bit here. Even though PayPal tells me I can't donate from Japan, it somehow let me go through with 333.
It must be the number.
Yeah, 333 key is the key. You're all in Tokyo. There you go, 333. Just a dude named Ben out here for over 30 years working in the financial sector. You guys are the best. Love to my gorgeous wife and amazing daughter, de-douching, please.
You've been de-douched.
Karma for all and anything L. Sharpton. You heard a lot of L. Sharpton earlier. Regards, Tom.
RESPICT.
You've got karma.
Onward to Jack Tinkler, Columbus, Georgia, 333. Dear best friends, John and Adam, my second donation, and I started listening to No Agenda after Adam's first Rogan visit.
Rogan donation.
Please send karma my way with a biscuit for my birthday. We got a biscuit for your birthday.
They always give me a biscuit on my birthday.
Oh, he'd also like a Trump aroused. Okay. Can you see that juice? Oh, brother. And a little girl yay. We got all of that for you.
It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
Oh, my gosh. Can you see that juice?
Wow!
Disgusting.
Karma.
The disgusting array of clips.
There's worse coming.
Lee Purkis, Leigh, is the female's name, in Birmingham, West, somewhere in UK. She's in the UK, Birmingham. First, apologies for the last note. I have nerve damage in one hand, and I tried to voice to text, and that was the result. Okay,
well, I don't remember, but it was probably
we
funny.
don't have that note, so but it's good to know.
Yeah.
I think this donation gets me a title, which will be the Hermit of the 8C. Lee could also be a man's name.
Yeah.
And the title Hermit of the 8C is asexual. Thanks for giving some context to the world.
Yeah, we try.
Well, now I want to know whether this is a Lee, a female or a male Lee.
I don't know, but Lee's getting...
I'm guessing it's a male because of the nerve damage to the hand. Is it the right hand?
Okay, here we go. We'll see you on the podium later, Lee. Thank you. Sonia Payne is in Paragon, Indiana, 24398, our first associate executive producer. And Sonia has an even more disgusting donation request as it brings her... Oh, this is Sonia. What? Sonia brings me to knighthood? No, it must be a dame. No, Please knight me Sir Nasty Nate, protector of Morgan County. As it must have been his wife's PayPal, I guess.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
Okay, so Nate, this donation brings me to knighthood in celebration of my 35th birthday.
Does she know that her PayPal's being raided by Nate?
She does now. Been listening since 2012 and on a monthly donation since 2020. Thank you. Please knight me Sir Nasty Nate, protector of Morgan County, Indiana. Jingles, smoking hot wife, I'm gonna come, and 69, dude. Oh, yeah. Thanks for your courage.
I'm gonna come.
69, dudes.
Brother, what is wrong with people? Sir Tooth Fairy in Valparaiso, Indiana. Hey, guys. Thank you again for the best podcast in the universe. I have a couple of edibles the other day and ended up listening a recent episode of Brett Weinstein's podcast.
Necessary.
He had to be stoned. He was discussing atrazine in frogs, which we talked about 10 years ago.
Well, Alex Jones told us that it's turning the frogs gay.
Well, he said it was turning the frogs gay, but I'm the one who had the clips from the professor at Cal was discussing atrazine in the water and mentioned the possibility. I think I figured, and we should look those clips up again.
I have them all. But it's
I figured that the real reason they want us feasting on insects. This hypothesis of how carnivorous frogs could be exposed to the herbicide atrazine. It was most likely due to their diet bugs. The bugs eat the poison plants, we eat the bugs, and the little boy's dick start to falling off.
Yay!
Yay! Game, set, match. The lizard people win. He's still on edibles, it seems to me. Hey, man, for jingles, can I get an I like bugs, Fauci wheeze, and Trump Space Force? Thanks, Sir Tooth Fairy.
I love bugs.
Tastes like poop.
It was hard to get it aroused, and
that was you.
That's me.
Space Force.
There we go. There's too many Trump ISOs. Dan Doring is in Eolia, Missouri. 20710. Switcheroo, he says. This will be credited to my smoking hot fiance, Jamie, for our anniversary on July 10th. Happy 3 years, babe. I hit her in the mouth on our first date, and she loved it. I knew she was a keeper. Thank you for your courage. Cheers from Dan. You got it. Jamie is switchery dude right here. Good to go. Thank you so much.
Meanwhile, Healing House Counseling in Kingsland, Georgia. Hello, gentlemen. I'm a long-time listener, first-time donor, $200. My smoking hot husband, Kanan, K-A-N-A-N, hit me in the mouth years ago. I need to call him out as a douchebag. I'm a non-rapist therapist in Georgia. I appreciate your deconstruction of the trans Maoist movement. I've been cleaning long enough to remember when we diagnosed this as gender dysphoria and help people learn to live with those incongruencies.
Yeah.
Most children, if they go through normal puberty, would discover that they were homosexual and then make decisions on how to navigate that.
Sounds about right.
When it comes to the issue of gender dysphoria, the only way for a therapist to get around losing their license nowadays, if they aren't affirming the practice, is to go into cash pay only for services and screen out those they work with.
There you go.
This is just bad.
That's a good tip, though. It's a good tip if you want to save children instead of sending them to the chop shop.
Ooh, the chop shop.
I'm sorry I even came up with that.
Yeah, I am too. But it's a good show title.
Yeah.
I've been able to accept insurance, but I advertise my practice as a Christian counseling practice. This seems to naturally weed out those looking only for affirmation rather than having their thoughts or feelings challenged. In addition, I do not work with children, which seems to be a protective barrier as well.
That makes sense.
Thank you, too, for being a voice of reason. I look forward to each podcast, and she is the Healing House Counseling in Kingsland, Georgia.
Oh.
We don't know her name, but that's where she's operating out of.
So our last one is, you kind of got to do the last one because it's your gig.
Oh, yeah, the timing. Because why am I doing it? Because it's Linda Lupatkin. She's in Lakewood, Colorado. Jobs, karma for all you jobs hunters out there. And for a competitive edge, go to imagemakersinc.com for all your executive resume and job search needs. Or just find Linda Lupatkin under the show's executive producer list and run a search.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Question. We don't have that many left.
Yeah, I think we can plow through these.
Just plow through. Well, let me first thank our executive and associate executive producers. That is anyone 200 and above or 300 and above. These titles that you just received are the real deal. You can use them anywhere credits are recognized, which includes IMDb. Almost 800 executive or associate executive producers of the No Agenda Show recognized there. Put them on your LinkedIn. Use them in your resume. I mean, and if anyone ever questions it, we'll be happy to vouch for you. And thank you execs and associate execs, for supporting the No Agenda Show. We appreciate it.
And we do want to thank our regular donors over 50, which includes Daniel George in Danbury, Connecticut, with $100. Yair, Yair, I should know how to pronounce that, Moore in Illinois. That's a donation, a birthday donation for with $100 attached. Bill and Janet Webb in Gilbert, Arizona, $100 with a nice attached note. Very pretty. Somewhere. Oh, it's nice. Yeah. Nice note. Thank you. Kevin McLaughlin in Concord, North Carolina, 8008. He is our boobs man, and he's the only one today.
Yeah, but he's
holding up the fort.
Holding up the boob fort. William
Kidwell in Dover, Delaware, 7379. Dame Trail Boss in Denver, Arizona, with a 7011 card she sent in with a birthday request. Just happy birthday to me.
Yay.
Grebulon in Netanya, Illinois.
Haven't heard from Grebulon.
Grebulon is back.
Yeah. Hello, Grebulon.
He had to send 2 notes in to make sure that we caught that. Yeah. Kyle, and he came in with 69 dudes. Kyle Hendrickson in Carpentersville, Illinois, 6933. He's the Scott Horton investigator. Huh?
Oh, all right.
Joseph Stegman in Thousand Oaks, California, 66. Christopher Dechter, 5678.
Another name from the past, Christopher Dechter. I remember.
It's about time he came back.
Yeah.
Sir Egghead, we know who we've been missing a number of people, including our Fire Bottles rocket guy.
Fire Bottles, yeah. It's
Donald.
Sir
Fire Bottles.
Donald. I
think he ran out of letterhead, and that was the end of it.
I hope the Forever Chemicals didn't get him.
Sir Egghead in Dayton, Ohio, 5510. This is a switcheroo de-douching and some health karma for my smoking hot wife, PJ Golden.
You've been de-douched.
Health karma coming up.
Baron Hank Scorpio in Cumberland, Ontario, Canada.
This is a nice note. Nice note. I haven't listened in a while, but still check in periodically. Last Sunday's show was outstanding and insightful. I was quickly reminded of the value No Agenda can bring. Thank you for your courage. By the way, we got sabotaged. Did you notice that we got sabotaged?
Tell me.
For a large number of people, they only received about an hour and 5 minutes of the show. And in order to get the rest of the show, they had to delete the episode and reload. And it was across apps. It was not at all consistent. I talked to Void Zero, and I said, did one of the servers get a partial upload? He said, no, that's not possible. The web server doesn't even turn on until it's fully uploaded. And it's a mystery, I call sabotage.
You might be right. This show is dense. Mimi said she had to take a nap after the first hour.
I got to take a nap.
It was dense. It was a dense show. It was loaded.
It's pretty funny.
That show took her like a long time to listen to, and she said it was dense from beginning to end. Everything in that show was compact. It was dense with information.
We gave it a B+.
And there was it must have been those little clips at the end that we put. I think the RFK Jr. clips.
Yeah, and also it was the RFK Jr. deconstruction, the NPR ladies. There was a lot in there. And
the part that was missing.
Yes. Oh yeah. Of course. There was the part that was missing. It's a sabotage.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Cables in Albury, New South Wales, Australia, $55. Christopher Jones in Paris. He's in Paris, Texas. 5151. Christine Hines in Manchester, New Hampshire, 5123. Bob Butler in Cumming, Georgia, 5069. Birthday with Christopher Reitmeyer in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Go Packers. Birthday call for his wife coming up.
Fifi.
Margaretha Edenhood.
Oh, good to see her back.
Orangevale, California, 50. And she's the beginning of the $50 donors, which I will list with name and location, starting with her, and then Eric Drake in Wheatfield, Indiana.
And he is a first-time Rogan donation, needs a de-douche.
You've been de-douched.
All right.
Corey Cunningham in Warrenton, Virginia.
Wait, did you get Gavin? I think you missed Gavin. Gavin McGoldrick.
Gavin McGoldrick in San Francisco, California. Tim Del Vecchio in Blandon, Pennsylvania. Andrew Grasso in Mineola, New York. Michael Wendell in Matawan, New Jersey. Gary Mao in not a Maoist, M-A-U, in Woodland Hills, California. Stephen Ing in Box Elder, South Dakota. Dame Patricia Worthington in Miami, Florida. Real Deals Now in San Antonio, Texas. Brendan Savoy, Sir Brandon in Port Orchard, Washington. Alex Stawinski in Denver, Colorado. And last on our list in Nashville, Tennessee, exists Jared Yao. Y-A-W. Yao. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
I like what you did.
Yao. And I want to thank all these people for making show 1572 the reality that it is.
And thank you, everyone who came in under $50. We never read a name there. That's for 100% anonymity. Also, many people on some subscriptions. You might want to check them, people. I've seen, this is Bidenomics for you. I've seen some PayPals like, sorry, there was not enough money to make your automatic donation.
And you get kicked off. So you got to check.
Yeah. And you don't even know. So that's the PayPal.
People should check
what it is. But thank you. It is all appreciated. Thank you for returning the value. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel loved. It makes us feel wanted. And it makes us want to do more great shows for you. So again, thank you for producing episode 1572 of No Agenda.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Squirrel! Shut up, slave!
Shut up, slave!
And for those who need it, some goat karma.
You've got karma.
And here is your list. Dame Trailball celebrated yesterday on July 11th. Also yesterday, she did not want to put herself on the list. Jay Dvorak! Along with Tina Curry, my wife, the keeper. Happy birthday to Roger McGuinn. He celebrates today. Sir RJ turned 55 on the 12th. Yar Moore turned 38 on the 12th. Christopher Reitmeyer wishes his wife Heather, Fifi Reitmeyer, a happy birthday for today. Sir Nasty Nate turns 35. And Jack Tinkler, happy birthday to his smoking hot friend, Allison. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
Hey,
hold on. What?
You screwed up.
What did I do?
You said yesterday was Jay's and Tina's birthday.
Oh, it was the 11th. I'm sorry. Happy birthday to Jay and Tina 2 days ago.
There you go.
Title changes. Turn and face the slave.
douchebag. In fact, we love her. Dame Meowdison ups the ante once again and makes it to Viscountess. We're very happy to have her here. Dame Meowdison, thank you very much. She's a doll. We think she's very, very cool. We have, three knights, although we don't know if Sonia is actually becoming a knight. We just think it's probably just Nate using Sonia's PayPal. So regardless, the
stealing her money.
The trident is out. The trident blade. There you go. Beautiful. Adrielle Cartmel, Lee Perkis, and Nate. All of you have achieved a knighthood status here at the No Agenda Show at the round table. We're happy to have here, and I'm very proud to pronounce-ticate thee as Sir Adrielle, Knight of the Free BSE, Sir Hermit of the 8C, and Sir Nasty Nate. For you, we've got Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. In case you wanted it, we got some Taquitos and Tequila. We got Harlots and Haldol. We got Redheads and Rise. We got Rubenesque Women and Rosé, Geishas and Sake, Vodka, Vanilla, Bong Hits and Bourbon, Sparkling Cider and Escort, Ginger Ale and Gerbils, breast milk and pablum, and mutton and mead. That mutton and mead is so popular. And what you can do now is you can rush right over to noagendarings.com. That is where you can see these handsome knight rings. There's also dame rings, but you won't get those. You get the knight ring. Please give us an address. We can send it to you, and along with your ring size, a handy ring sizing chart there. If you're just envious and want to go take a look at it, it's all over there. It is beautiful to see. These rings are great. You'll be the envy of the next meetup. No Agenda Knights, welcome to the round table, and thank you for supporting the No Agenda Show.
No Agenda Meetup.
Yeah, speaking of the meetups, we have a meetup report from the Down East, Down South meetup.
So I'm Sven. I'm here with my wife, Elise.
Hello, I'm Elise.
And we've got 80% of our human resources, and I'm going to pass you around.
John and Adam, producers, what's going on? This is Alex, aspiring dude named Ben. Love you guys, love the show. Keep it up. Miss you, Colin and Emerson.
In the morning, this is Tom, Down East, Down South.
ITM, Dame Lydia.
Thanks a lot, guys. Keep up the hard work, and hopefully we'll get some more Mainers out here for the next one. We're going to try again for August in Topsom, so keep an eye on the website. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for producing that meetup report. Today, we have the so-called meetup kicking off at 5 o'clock Eastern, Nevermind Awesome Bar. That's Cape Coral, Florida. The North Dakotan Norwegian crossover meetup. That should be interesting. That's in Minot, North Dakota, at the Starving Rooster today at 6. The Denver City Park Summer Slave Brigade, hooey hooey at 6:30 in Denver City Park. Definitely join that one if you can. On Saturday, the Fort Worth monthly meetup, 1 o'clock Texas time at Flip's Patio Grill in Fort Worth. The North Carolina Triad No Agenda meetup, 2 o'clock in Kernersville Brewing Company in Kernersville, North Carolina. Also on Saturday, the Shrunken Amygdala Support Group, 2 o'clock at Taft Brewporium, Cincinnati, Ohio. The Central Ohio meetup, 3 o'clock in India Oak Grill. That's in Columbus. The Flight of the No Agenda meetup over there in Los Angeles, California. The Proud Bird is where Leo Bravo will be hosting you on Saturday. Also on Saturday, Never Again Credit in Suisse. Aha! Zurich, Switzerland. Bar Le Philosophe. Hey, if you're in Switzerland, if you're a banker or if you're a former banker, go to the Never Again Credit in Suisse, 6 o'clock Berlin, Amsterdam, Paris time, Bar Le Philosophe, Zurich, Switzerland. We are truly international. The Miami Beach South Point Park, Miami, on Saturday, 7 p.m. And the next show day, 16th, Tucson Wild West Side meetup, 1 o'clock at Whiskey Roads in Tucson, Arizona, and Hunter's Deviated Septum Memorial. Miller's Ale House, Mount Laurel Township, South New Jersey. Of course, it's Jersey. I understand. There's plenty more meetups to attend. Let me see. Do we have any? We have one coming up on August 26th in Vilnius, Lithuania. How about that? A little late for the NATO conference, but it's there. Yeah. You missed it by a month or so. There's tons of No Agenda meetups. This is where you find your community. This is where anybody can attend. Everybody will get along with you. You'll get along with everybody else because you have one thing in common. It's your own community. In the days ahead, in the months ahead with Bidenomics, Biden inflation, you want to have people you can rely on. It's the connection that gives you protection. No Agenda meetups. If you can't find one, start one yourself.
Sometimes you wanna go hang out with all the nights and days. You wanna be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You wanna be where everybody feels the same.
It's like a party. Like a big ass party. Party. I have a number of ISOs actually today.
Oh, good, because I only have 2. Might as well play mine first.
Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, yes. All right, what are your ISOs?
I've got somebody with, I think, a kind of a Cockney accent saying 100%.
100%.
No, that's Australian.
100%.
100%. That's not bad.
100%.
That's not bad. 100%. Yes.
And then the other one is, what is it? What's the other ISO?
Interesting is what it's called.
Yeah, this one's just somebody saying interesting.
Kind of interesting.
Kind of interesting.
Kind of not interesting.
Yeah, it's a little dull.
All right, here's
100%.
100%.
That was okay.
100%. Here's some choices.
I came in all hot and bothered.
I don't know why I just like Amy Goodman saying that. I have this one.
Grateful.
Hold on.
Grateful for your time. Thank you.
Grateful for your time.
I like that one.
You like that one?
Good ending.
Let me see. Well, that's interesting. I also have 100 ISO.
100%. I 100% agree.
No, I don't like that one. I have this one.
Truth must be spoken.
No, I think this one is the one I like the best.
Man, this is not what I thought was going to happen.
That was not my final one. I had a different one. Well, this is weird.
I think you got a good one there. You may as well save the other one because the Grateful for Your Time I thought was it was sharp sounding. It was clear.
Yeah,
it wasn't muddy.
I had a really funny one. But now I'm pissed off.
I caught a fish the other day. Huge.
Hold on a second. What happened? Let me just this. Oh, here it is. I knew it.
Please remain seated for the family photo.
Come on. I knew you'd love that one.
Okay, you win. That one wins. You're right.
I knew it was worth finding. I knew it. Please remain seated for the family photo.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the top of the year.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Vilnius, so let's play. We'll track down on that.
So what was going on there? This was the NATO thing.
Well, I have the succinct breakdown. You can follow that.
Beautiful.
This is like the kind of just a generalized discussion from NTD.
What is it? I'm looking for. Oh, here it is.
NATO meet.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second.
People who get their news from Chinese religious cults.
As the NATO summit is underway with a whole host of issues on the table, we turn now to NTD's Iris Tao, who's tracking the meeting on the ground from Vilnius, Lithuania.
As NATO leaders gather here in Vilnius, Lithuania, membership to the key alliance dominates discussions at the annual summit. President Biden today held a one-on-one meeting with the president of Turkey, who on the eve of this summit cleared the path for Sweden to join NATO.
The summit is reaffirming our commitment to NATO defense. We're close allies in NATO, and hope we can make it even stronger. So welcome.
The meeting also comes as the White House this morning announced that it would move forward with F-16 sales to Turkey, saying that
this is in our national interest. It's in the interest of NATO that Turkey get that capability.
And another major topic here that's at the top of the agenda is Ukraine's efforts to try to join NATO. But that push seems to be stalled. A summit communique agreed on Tuesday pledges to extend an invitation for Ukraine to join when, quote, allies agree and certain conditions are met, adding that the alliance will support Ukraine in making reforms on its path towards future membership. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a tweet today that, quote, certain wording is being discussed without Ukraine, adding that it's unprecedented and absurd that there's no clear timeline for Ukraine to join. But President Biden today said that he stood with the NATO's language.
Yeah, so there's a meme of Volodymyr Zelensky at the family photo event, I guess, at NATO, and everybody's dressed up in their evening gowns, and they're all talking, they're all hanging
up to
out.
the hilt.
Yeah, and he's just there like a little boy lost with his green army fatigues on, or whatever that thing is that he wears.
Poor choice of clothing.
Very completely wrong. But that he's an actor, and the Central Casting only gave him one.
Somebody's telling him what to do, and he's doing it.
Yeah.
By the way, I do have Biden saying something here on NATO. You might want to play it. It's from the event, and I have to say that most of it's terrible. I think I cleaned this one up.
We agree on the language that we've proposed, or you proposed, relative to the future of Ukraine being able to join NATO. And we're looking for continued united NATO.
No, but did they clap for that? Did they go, oh, very good. Very good. Very good, Joe.
They clap for everything.
This is so stupid. That man is toast. Although, the reports that Biden yells at everybody behind the scenes is getting out there is pretty interesting, which I think is planted.
That would fall into my thesis.
Yeah, but I think it's just planted. I have a CBS report about NATO.
Thanks, Lithuania.
Dozens of world leaders in town, but only one got a reception like this. And yet all the love did not...
Wow, did you hear that? Was that you?
No.
Someone went, woo! Listen to that.
Got a reception like this. And yet all the love did not make up for the one thing Ukraine's leader really wants: membership in the alliance meeting right down the road. NATO will give Ukraine security, he pleaded. Ukraine will make NATO stronger. NATO leaders did offer a consolation prize today that they billed as a major breakthrough. Ukraine's future is in NATO, they announced, but only after the nation makes democratic and security sector reforms.
This is a big step.
Zelensky called it absurd to place vague new conditions on Ukraine without setting a membership timetable. But some NATO allies worry that could draw them into direct confrontation with Russia.
How soon would you like to see Ukraine become a member of NATO?
I can't put a timetable on it for you.
NATO countries are making other promises. France is offering long-range missiles. Germany, 65 tanks and armored vehicles.
Oh, sounds like Macron got the memo, huh? Oh, give me some missiles.
They actually, these missiles are on their way, according to the Defense One newsletter.
Yes.
And they have a range of 250 kilometers, which is not quite enough to hit Moscow.
But France is participating.
Now they're participating with these long-range missiles, which means they're going to use these things. They're pretty big. They're called... I forgot what the
Do
name
not
are.
deplatform me. I am participating. I'm giving you long-range missiles.
And they're going to use them to probably bomb the shit out of Crimea.
For you.
NATO countries are making other promises. France is offering long-range missiles. Germany, 65 tanks and armored vehicles. And 11 nations will start training Ukrainian pilots to fly F-16s.
How long is that training going to take?
Pentagon Undersecretary Colin Kahl.
We're talking about, somewhere between 6 and 18 months, depending on how well the Ukrainian pilots do.
Oh, yeah.
Not far to the east, Russia is watching all of this unfold. A Russian spokesperson saying today that a new agreement to allow Sweden to join NATO is clearly negative for Russia. He vowed countermeasures, though he didn't specify what those might be, Nora.
So this is a big circle jerk sales conference, basically. They don't want these guys, NATO, they don't want the war to stop. They want hey, give away all your old crap. You got some old missiles? Send them over there. We're all going to take your people's money, build some new ones.
There was some tweet that's been memeified, or some comment that was memeified and going around that shows that one of the generals of one of the NATO generals saying that this is what turning into one of the greatest testing grounds for weaponry.
Oh, yeah.
That we could ever hope for.
Yeah, it's the best ever.
Yeah.
Best ever. There was a very funny moment at the State Department. Spokeshole Matthew Miller was so anxious and so just anxious to get the truth out that he let it slip out twice, even though he was corrected.
Two things. So I will say, with respect to your first question, we believe the war has been a strategic failure for Ukraine. The Secretary spoke to this in a speech he gave in Helsinki last month, I believe it was. What's that? I'm sorry. A strategic failure for Ukraine. Thank you for the correction.
Twice.
Which is, I need more than one correction today. This is the first time at the podium for a week. I'm apparently a little rusty.
I never expected anyone to say, I never expected you guys to see the high ground.
I'm a little rusty, I guess.
You couldn't really hear it, but Matt Lee in there saying, well, I never expected you to go all the way to the truth. So twice he says, strategic failure for Ukraine. Truth wants to come out, obviously. Boots on the ground report regarding the dud rates of the cluster bombs. I strapped munitions on aircraft in the military. Here's what I've been told about American dud rates. Our rates of failure are actually much higher than other countries. The reason is all the safety mechanisms to prevent the ordnance, by the way, it's not ordinance, it's ordnance, from blowing up on the flight line. Our ordnance has many fail-safes that prevent premature explosion. Some use radar or altimeters to determine if they are in free fall. Others use mechanical devices to determine spin or acceleration. Most have more than one mechanism that must be triggered to go boom. In many cases, ordnance does not go off because they are designed to fail safe. Makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. That is the way we operate. So we have more duds than probably the Russians who are blowing up themselves, I'm sure.
So on Friends 24, douchebag Doug came in to explain why it's okay
Our favorite.
Yes, why it's okay for us to be basically giving cluster munitions to Ukraine, and he does a pretty good job of trying to explain why it's okay when we do it. And actually, listening to this, I think I know why we're really sending those cluster bombs over there. Listen.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're right. 123 countries have signed on to a now 15-year-old convention banning cluster munitions. And
it's kind of outdated.
They did so because these aren't just any weapons. They're bombs that break into small bomblets dispersed over a wide area of the battlefield, and also clearly in areas where civilians after the war will be walking around. And they tend to linger there, and they can explode years later. They can maim, grievously harm, and kill civilians, which is why they have raised such ferocious objections from humanitarians, from human rights groups, and just ordinary people. The criticism...
Just ordinary people who don't want to get blowed up.
...against them, in a nutshell, is, look, just because Russia is accused of atrocities such as rape, such as torture, such as executing civilians, among other war crimes, doesn't mean that Ukraine should stoop to the same level, that there should be this issue of a just war, that there is a moral high ground, and there is a benefit to retaining that moral high ground, which you will completely be deprived of if you start doing what your enemy does and using cluster munitions. So yes, has Russia been accused of using these massively since the beginning of the war, cluster bombs? Absolutely.
You betcha.
Have they been accused of using them indiscriminately in heavily populated civilian areas? Yes, as well. Does Ukraine say it won't be doing that?
Have you seen any reports of Russia using cluster bombs in civilian areas during the Ukraine war?
Have you seen any phone videos of these bombs going off or anywhere nearby or anything from...
No, I have not.
Well, neither have I.
Yes, it does say that. They say they'll be concentrating on areas, Russian-occupied territory, where there are concentrated troop formations to flush them out of dug-in trenches. Now, moving on. All of those arguments aside, what the allies are saying, and 2/3 of NATO allies have signed on to this convention, are basically no. Take Spain. It says no to cluster munitions, yes to Ukraine's legitimate defense. Now, Ukraine, as you would surmise, eyes will say that this is part of our legitimate defense. But other countries, Germany is taking a stance right now. They do not use or produce cluster munitions. They will not ship and supply others with cluster munitions. At the same time, its president said in the past couple of days, it's not going to block the U.S. decision. It can't block the U.S. Now, the U.K. is...
This was interesting. This actually happened during NATO. There was an open hot mic, and I think it was the UK defense minister said, hey, we're not going to act as Amazon to deliver America's cluster bombs.
Taking a different position, basically saying it does not use or produce, and it is not going to ship. And it hasn't said anything about where it stands with really respect to this U.S. decision. Canada, dead set against it. A lot of other allies. So there are a host of countries, including, I believe, Poland and Lithuania, who never signed on to the convention. These are the countries in the front lines of Russia, have seen Russia's aggression. They are more inclined to give the nod to the U.S. decision to use cluster munitions. But it clearly has caused a split among allies, among this broader philosophical debate, the moral, the ethical issues, the question of what is a just war. Is there such a thing as one side being more justified in using cluster munitions than another side if they're using them to different purposes?
Here's my analysis of douchebag Doug. These cluster munitions are being used in one particular area, which is a swath of land, which I believe will be the new DMZ, the demilitarized zone. You won't be able to walk there. You'll get blown up because of our stupid cluster bombs. And this will be part of the solution. Okay, Russia, you're here. Ukraine, you're over there. This is the DMZ. What do you think?
It's an interesting idea. The Russians have planted mines all over probably the same area.
Yeah. Oh, no, but Ukraine already mined there. They've already mined that area.
Yeah, so maybe maybe they are going to create some sort of a dead zone.
So there was a report which came out in Reuters yesterday that kind of gave a headline which a lot of people are seeing as a fail for the West, as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has proposed to Russian President Vladimir Putin that he extend a deal to allow the safe Black Sea export of grain from Ukraine in return for connecting a subsidiary of Russia's agricultural bank back up to the SWIFT international payment system.
Oh, interesting.
So this grain deal ends, I think, to Monday. And it's a real problem. If you look at this, reports coming from Poland, because, Poland is now just getting crap grain, then wheat, whatever it is, it's crap. And dogs and cats are dying in like massive numbers because of just the shit that's being put into food there.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, there's reports of dogs and cats in Poland dying, and apparently it's because they're feeding the crap grain to the pigs and the chickens that then is put into dog and cat food. This is what I'm hearing. But anyway, back to the SWIFT thing. So this is now kind of being shown. Well, they failed with this new deal that Guterres is suggesting. But really, it's much worse than that, because this was just one of the many demands that Russia had previously. And what the main thing they wanted is, here it is. They want the pipeline, the ammonia pipeline, to be reinstated, to be repaired. This is really about the ammonia pipe. Remember there was a little story that the
ammonia pipeline going from where to where?
Hold on a second, I have it here somewhere. Where's the? I thought it was here. Shoot, hold on a second. Oh, now I can't find it. I don't know why I can't find it. It was like one of these men. Oh, here it is. Several demands. I'm sorry. Here we go. The Black Sea Grain Initiative. Oh, crikey. Sorry. It's like I'm failing. I'm failing like a mofo here, people. Oh, now I can't get to. I don't have the answer for you, John. It's I had it, now I don't have it anymore. But the ammonia pipeline is apparently is what this really is about, and everybody needs that. The ammonia is, I mean, you could be able to tell us more about that, but the ammonia is incredibly important. We need that
to making fertilizer.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, if you go back to some of the original problems with Russia, it was all about. And we had a fertilizer shortage. Remember, the end of COVID.
There's a whole thing about it.
We were missing.
Russians
all of
had
this
control of certain grain. They had control of the Black Sea export. They had control of their grain, Ukraine grain, and all the fertilizer.
And so this is not helping Africa. The nations in Africa.
No, Africa's
they're screwed.
Is not having any fun with this.
They're screwed. So I don't know. So part of this reconnection to SWIFT, that was just one of the many demands. But the main thing was we need this pipeline restored. Which I'm still trying to get to that page, but I'm going through archive.org and it's trying to parse the page.
No, you're screwed. You never find it.
It's never going to work. So there's a lot more going on. It seems like Russia has the upper hand on a lot of this stuff. And the SWIFT reconnection thing, that's pretty interesting. And it will be...
Well, hasn't been played up at all.
JP Morgan Chase will start processing some Russian grain export payments with reassurances from the U.S. government. Well, how about that?
What kind of a sanction is this?
Right? That's bullcrap.
No, Russia has an upper hand in a lot, just because of the nature of that country being what it is. Has always had an upper hand in a lot of things, and that's all they want to do is be left alone.
So here were Russia's demands. I got it finally. This is from June 16th. So this is nothing new.
It's a month ago.
Yeah. But now they're saying, oh, no, we're going to reconnect you. But so they're folding for one. Russia's demands. In March, they actually demanded, they said Moscow wants the Russian Agriculture Bank reconnected to the SWIFT payment system. So they're buckling because Russia demanded it. The United Nations is where, resumption of its Black Sea ammonia exports via a pipeline from Russia's Togliatti to Ukraine's Pivdeny port. The pipeline, which pumped up to 2.5 million tons of ammonia annually, was shut down by the war. In September, Reuters reported that the UN proposed the Russian fertilizer producer Uralchem sell its ammonia to U.S. headquarter commodities trader Tramo once it reaches the Russia-Ukraine border via the pipeline. See what these a-holes were doing? You got to sell that to us. Oh, my gosh. Until the ammonia pipeline is restarted, Moscow said it will limit the number of vessels allowed to travel to the Pivdeny port under the Black Sea grain deal. UN data shows no ships have visited Pivdeny port for more than a month. Last week, Russia accused, this is back in June, Ukrainian forces of blowing up part of the pipeline, the world's longest, carrying ammonia in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. The regional Ukraine governor said Russia had shelled the pipeline because that makes so much sense. Neither side provided any evidence. More than 400,000 tons of Russian fertilizer was initially stranded in European Union ports after the war started. The UN officials have negotiated its release for export to Africa after Russia said it would be donated. So Russia has a lot of cards here. A lot. And we're going to go pretty hungry. Well, maybe not with lab meat. We'll be okay.
No, we have lab meat to eat. If you don't mind jumping to China and its influence in Africa, and then now the more latest efforts are in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should play these clips.
Marcos Chagas, good to have you on the show. China's rapidly expanding its military and surveillance initiatives.
Latin America, sorry.
Across Latin America, including at a strategic port in Argentina. Could you lay out for us what is China doing to expand its influence in the region?
Well, so they're doing a lot. Basically, over the last 20 years, they shifted to being South America's main commercial partner. Except for Mexico, they basically dominate the region economically. And one key thing they have been doing, which I think is of concern, is the fact that they have been expanding predatory loans. So they have their infrastructure Belt and Road project They have other infrastructure projects. And what they do, according to a study by William and Mary University, which was by a lab called A-Data, is that they give very different loans than what you might expect from other countries or from Western countries, which have a lot of strings attached and which gives them huge leverage to further their interests in any other country. And specifically in Latin America, they have been furthering their war apparatus. They have a military-run space base in Argentina. We're talking about another spy base in Cuba, which was recently on the news. In the U.S., there's a lot of stake for Washington there.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
Same guy.
You know, the funny thing is that they're just using, as you remember, a decade ago when we were kind of harping on the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman by Perkins.
The original.
Yeah. They're just using our tricks.
Yeah. Go rubblize, go in, rebuild. What, you don't like it? We'll send the jackals in. That's all our tricks.
Part 2.
I only have a 3. This is what I don't understand.
Yes, there is. Part 2 has been excised. Part 3. Yes.
Right now, the U.S. is like in Brazil, for instance, my whole country, the 4th largest food producer in the world, and the breadbasket of critical materials, which the U.S. needs to produce jets, semiconductors, and other critical items. The U.S. is letting that country, that 1/3 of its economy, in the hands of China. It's been letting them do that. It's been letting this country, where I am right now, do that for the last 20 years. The U.S. has been letting China loan tens of billions of dollars to Venezuela, which has enabled them to fuel the U.S. with drugs on purpose. This is not about making money. This is state-run cartels flooding the U.S. with drugs on purpose, as the DOJ has stated when they charged Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, on narco-terrorism charges. For a conspiracy to flood the U.S. with cocaine. Now, who's enabling all of this? It's the Chinese loans. So I think more attention is warranted. But to be quite honest, getting back to your question, I don't think there's much to be done right now. This is kind of gone into critical mass. The U.S. needs to start taking Latin America more seriously and taking democracy in the Southern Hemisphere more seriously.
I got to tell you, we can't play these clips anymore. If you're not reading along with the words, it's almost impossible to understand.
The guy is a bad clip because, by the way, and it's a better clip than it was by a lot.
Thanks to Adobe.
But the problem was with the guy. He's a fast talker, and he's got a very thick Portuguese accent, which makes him very hard to understand.
Yes, it's a bad combo. Well, hold on. I have a China clip, which is Actuel.
Overnight, Microsoft revealed that a Chinese hacking organization broke into the email for 25 major organizations, including government agencies. Trevor Alt is tracking the latest. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, George. A very alarming announcement from Microsoft. They say this started in May, and while they didn't specify which organizations were hit, they have revealed some of them, as you said, are government agencies. And Microsoft says the group behind this is known as Storm 0558. The company claims this is a spy agency that's based in China, and we're told Storm gained access to these organizations' emails by getting into individual accounts. And what that means is at this point, it's not clear how much data or information they were actually able to access. Now, Microsoft says the threat has since been completely mitigated. They've added new automated systems to detect these kinds of hacks, but they say cyber attacks are becoming much more common and a lot more sophisticated, and any individual could be targeted.
Man, why don't we use open source stuff? Why are we using Microsoft for all our sensitive things?
Are they talking about Outlook accounts, or are they talking about the mail servers that Microsoft uses?
Exchange server.
They're talking about, what are they talking about?
Well,
are they talking about Exchange, or are they talking about Outlook accounts?
I have a longer clip if you want.
Does it have it in there?
I'm not sure. It's from ABC. It must be good.
Overnight, ABC News confirmed the Commerce Department was also targeted during a recent breach of Microsoft's cloud security, linked to hackers based in China. Officials say the hackers targeted Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo's emails beginning in May.
Oh, you can have her. She's useless.
What, for the yucks? What are they targeting?
Remember
what she wrote yesterday.
Bill Gates was just there. Hey, Xi. Hey, baby. You want access to Gina Raimondo's email address?
Hey, and the attack went undetected for about a month. The State Department confirms it, too, was targeted, saying it
A month. What is wrong?
Took swift action.
We took immediate steps to secure our systems. Took immediate steps to notify Microsoft of the event. The incident remains under investigation, and we continuously monitor our networks and update our security procedures.
Sure.
The cyber breach started just before Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveled to China in June, and while the Commerce Department has been imposing sanctions on Beijing.
And then they had over 30 days before it was even reported, and almost another 30 days before it was fully mitigated. So this is a very long period of time to gain access.
Sources say it appears unlikely that the hackers got access to any high-value class.
Sources say.
So and sources may be conservative.
Could be anything.
For all practical purposes, for 60 days, 2 months,
yes,
worth of State Department valuable emails, the kind of stuff that WikiLeaks would love to have,
stuff that showed that Ukraine was, suffered a strategic loss, because that's what the State Department internal.
There's probably something in there about the Ukrainian war. This is a disaster.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of played off as, hey, we've alerted Microsoft that their stuff's no good.
To fight information, but the threat is growing. The number of cyber attacks affecting government organizations rose 95% in the last half of 2022 compared to the previous year. Stopping the threat goes far beyond protecting passwords. Experts say it requires spotting suspicious activity ahead of time.
Artificial intelligence and machine learning can do it much faster.
Now we go.
So instead of detecting it in 30 days, we should have detected it in 30 milliseconds. And if we could do that, we have the ability to stop these types of attacks.
Microsoft says email data from 25 organizations was exposed. The Chinese government responded to the reports overnight by criticizing the U.S., saying, quote, the U.S. is the world's biggest hacking empire.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Well,
it's true, but what's it got to do with anything?
That story, I think, somehow is related to this story.
John Solomon, you just broke news moments ago that the Secret Service now is asking to update lawmakers in a private area tomorrow regarding the cocaine in Joe Biden's White House. What does that mean? What do you know?
Well, it signals there's been a development. The original timetable was for the House Oversight Committee to be briefed on the week of January 24th. Today, they reached out to Chairman Comer, asked to move that up till 10 a.m. tomorrow. So 10 a.m. tomorrow in a SCIF. That's a intelligence briefing room, a secure room normally reserved for classified information. Lawmakers who have the appropriate clearance can go in and get a briefing on this. This comes as we know the Secret Service was running fingerprints and DNA analysis on the bag of cocaine to see what evidence they might be derived from it. Lawmakers are scrambling. They're going to show up tomorrow. It's going to be a very big day. But moving it up signals that there's been some form of a development in the investigation.
Yeah, in a SCIF. Oh, it's got to be secret because, otherwise China might know immediately if they emailed it around. This is fun. I think this is fun. This is really fun. It's a fun little.
Let's go back to China since we're talking about it. I want to have a couple of clips. This China influence in the USA. This is I have his name written down somewhere. It doesn't really matter. It's what he says more than what he is, and this is interesting.
Well, the CCP, under President Trump, the FBI had a China project. They were going after Chinese actors in the United States. They were actively investigating them and their links to American citizens, American legislators, etc. Biden stopped that. He cancelled that. Well, that should be reinstituted straight away.
Heaven forbid we stop the Chinese from taking over the place. Now, part two is later in this discussion, and I thought it was interesting because the first thing that comes to mind to me is Eric Swalwell, who is on the Intelligence Committee.
Fang.
Loyalty oaths should be brought back in. Security clearances should be massively amped up. They're very superficial right now. No other country, Russia or China, would never allow anybody who had a pro-American record to become the head of the KGB or the Chinese intelligence services. So this is America's number one problem. Massively lax internal security, no loyalty oaths, no background checks. There's no security checks on senators or congressmen for serving on committees. I think that should be another thing that should be done. Anybody who wants to serve on a sensitive committee, you want to serve on Homeland Security, armed services, intelligence, you should have a background check. You should have a clearance for that. Currently, there are no clearances for those positions. You know, you have to get a clearance to work in the CIA, but not to head the Senate Intelligence Committee or the House Intelligence Committee. That's a massive loophole in the system that has to be closed.
Oh, no. An outrage.
Swalwell.
Man. All right, I need to do a little big pharma. That'll be my last, and you can wind it up with whatever you have. Because there's trouble in paradise. And this started in the UK. They've started to investigate this. Now it's wafted over to the United States. We have problems.
A new investigation this morning into the safety of Ozempic and other drugs used for weight loss. Regulators in Europe are looking into a possible link between the drugs and suicidal thoughts after 3 people who used the drugs reported thoughts of suicide and self-harm. Now, the company that makes the drugs says studies found no such connection. More people have turned to Ozempic to lose weight, but it was approved by the FDA to treat diabetes.
Now, before I play the second clip, I want you to know that Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, has now become a columnist for a leading newspaper. And let me see if I can get his...
Everybody's trying to get into the act.
And he reviewed Ozempic by taking it. He thought that this would be the master drug for him. This would work perfectly because, you know, he's fat.
He's a fat guy, but he looks like a guy who knows how to be fat.
And he wrote a column, "Wonder drug I hoped would stop my raids for cheddar and chorizo didn't work for me." Daily Mail. And here's the bit that I thought was the best. "So for weeks I jabbed my stomach, and for weeks it worked. Effortlessly I pushed aside the puddings and the second helpings. Wasn't it amazing, I said to myself, how little food you really need. I must have been losing 4 or 5 pounds a week, maybe more, when all at once it started to go wrong. I don't know why exactly. Maybe it was something to do with constantly flying around the world and changing time zones, but I started to dread the injections because they were making me feel ill. 1 minute I would be fine. The next minute I would be talking to Ralph on the big white phone."
Ralph? He's talking about puking?
Yes, on the big white phone.
On the big white phone.
And I'm afraid
I haven't heard that one.
In decades. And I'm afraid that I decided I couldn't go on. For now, I'm back to exercise and willpower. But look at my colleagues, leaner but not hungrier. And I hope that if science can do it for them, maybe one day it can help me and everyone else. So
he was puking up.
Yeah, there's a problem with Ozempic, and this problem of suicidal thoughts, which if it really was just 3 people who reported, "Oh, I think I want to kill myself," would it be a big story like that? No, I don't think so. Time to bring in Dr. Jen.
Dr. Jen, America's favorite doctor, is back. And
she's America's favorite doctor, just so you know.
Dr. Jen, America's favorite doctor, is back. And we've talked a lot about Ozempic and those weight loss drugs. But now there's this concerning news. The EU is investigating after there have been suicidal thoughts reported on these medications.
Okay, yeah, and so we want to do a deep dive on this because, of course, as you said, this is such a popular drug category.
Deep dive.
Worldwide, but here in the U.S. as well, that this headline...
Listen to this big pharma prostitute. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. She is bought and paid for.
Use the right word then.
Thank you. Well, what was that? Was that the wrong word?
Yeah, whore.
Oh.
Kind of getting a lot of attention, in my opinion, for the wrong medical reasons. In Europe, in Iceland, there were 3 reported cases of suicidal thoughts in people taking Ozempic. So the EU is looking into this. The drug maker, Novo Nordisk, is, of course also looking into it. But it brings up a bigger issue of a term in medicine and public health that we use called background rate and background incidence. So
background rate, background incidence. This is nothing nothing to worry about. It's background noise.
You have to think of this as a fraction, right? In the general population, there is a background rate of people, unfortunately, every single day who have suicidal thoughts. Then there's a background rate of people taking these class of medications, these GLP-1 agonists. Where they overlap, if you think of like overlapping circles, that's the area that's of interest, right? We want to know if it's not just an observation or an observed effect, but a cause and effect, right? That the suicidal thinking was actually caused by these medications. Right now, there's no evidence of that because, again, this is something that occurs every single day. But of course, with the popularity of it, the more people who take any drug, the more even a rare risk of something could be expected to go up.
So is it reason to be concerned? Because when I read the headline, I was like, uh-oh, because everybody's doing it now.
I don't think there's evidence right now that there's reason to be concerned for suicidal thinking of this class of medication, but there is always reason to be concerned with the possibility of a rare effect.
I always love a conversation about a Venn diagram.
Nothing to be worried about.
Play her off.
It's all great. Don't worry about it. It's background noise. It's just background rate. It's just so, I mean, of course, people take our drugs. They're already suicidal from the other drugs we're giving them. Hello. It's so obvious.
It'd be suicidal to take any of them.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Hey, we are nominated for an award.
Again?
Again? When's the last time?
I don't know.
The American Liberty Awards. So this is not just some little podcast award. These are broadcast awards.
Ooh.
We are nominated in the Best Analyst Broadcast category.
Well, that's us.
I thought so, too. We're up there with, let's see, Jay Dyer. I have no idea. Gerald Celente. Mike Adams, the Health Ranger.
Mike Adams?
Yeah, he's a Best Analyst Broadcast.
He's not an A.
Pete Santilli.
Don't besmirch anybody that's a competitor.
No, especially not Sarah Gonzalez. Who's that? Oh, she's a Blaze girl.
Oh, Blaze girl.
Blaze girl. Charlie Robinson. Hey, we have a shot. And what's interesting, they don't say no. They don't give the show names. They give the people names. So it would be an actual personal award for you and for me as people.
Do they have my middle initial?
They do. Adam Curry and John, Jahnsi.
J-A-H-N-S-I. John C.
John C. No, it's John C. Dvorak. They did it properly, which is nice. So
I got two clips to get us out.
Okay. All right.
And that is, since you were talking about pharma, I got pharma clips.
Oh, pharma
And this
clips.
is going on in Congress. I have some more clips about this.
Oh, yes. This has been fun. This has been great to watch.
The next show. But this is fun, and there's a lot of funny stuff. And this is the COVID. They're investigating COVID. Mainstream media doesn't want to cover this, but it's online. You can get some of these clips.
Yeah.
And here's a COVID. It's about COVID origins. And there's some funny stuff coming up. And here's clip one.
The House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic is looking closely at the origins of the CCP virus.
Yeah.
And for this hearing, they brought in the author.
Wait a minute. What news outlet says CCP virus? What is this?
Let me think.
Could it be...
This is NTD.
Of the peer-reviewed article, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, published in March 2020. It said the virus most likely occurred naturally and did not come from a lab. One of the things lawmakers keyed in on was that both authors actually supported the lab leak theory shortly before the draft was published. Representative Nicole Maliotakis said this.
Dr. Gary went so far as to say, quote, I really can't think of a plausible natural scenario when you get from the bat virus or one very similar to it, COVID-19, where you insert exactly 4 amino acids, 12 nucleotides, and all have to be added at the exact same time to gain this function. I just can't figure out how this gets accomplished in nature, unquote. So then, within a matter of days, something changed. And that's what this committee is trying to get to the bottom of.
Professor Robert Gary explained how his view of the origin of the virus changed during that time.
The scientific literature, the
publication of the pangolin genomic sequence.
And exactly what my colleague here brought up.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
and it was a very important piece of data because it showed that a lot of the theories about, the virus having been engineered or put together in a laboratory were not true, because here was a virus in nature that had a receptor binding domain with exactly the same structure.
What a distraction, this. Interesting, but okay. Does it get fun?
The next clip, I only have two clips. Yeah. The point is that they were on board of one theory, and then it was like 2 days later they changed their complete opinion based on some discussion about pangolin DNA, about some pangolin virus.
I love the pangolin was my favorite.
The poor pangolin. And they still have. I don't know if they brought this up. I didn't listen to the whole hearing, but you'd think that they'd ask, "Have you caught the virus in the wild? Actually, in an animal?" The answer is no.
Oh no! Don't even start with that. Stop with your logic.
And Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick, a physician, disputed the theory that the virus came naturally from a pangolin or any other animal.
If it exists in the species, it has to be able to propagate and continue. It doesn't just go away. It's not just found in the same proximity of a species, but inside the species with antibodies and resistance. To say that it's just because it's in the same area as somewhere that a dog was found or a cat was found or a penguin, whatever you want to say, is for me just like smear some COVID on this wood and say, look, it came from this wood. To give our people who are watching this who are maybe not medical background to understand, that's obviously impossible. Just like it's impossible to have a virus that exists inside of an animal species go away or not have any sort of immune response or any propagation if that's where it came from in the beginning.
And Representative Ronnie Jackson, also a physician, said this.
You gathered every bit of this new additional information, which we don't know exactly what it was or where it came from. You completely changed your hypothesis. You collaborated with your co-authors, and you wrote the proximal origins paper all in that period of time. I just want to know, my time's up, but I just want you to know that sounds completely ridiculous to the American people, and it's...
The FBI and the Department of Energy have both said that COVID-19 likely came from a lab.
Wow, man. It's taken me back years and years ago. That was the first thing we said. This is bull crap. We know what this is.
Well, it wasn't us. It was the French Nobel Prize winning
Is that guy
what
who
said
to him?
He looked
gone?
at the sequence and he said, this is lab made, and there's HIV in there, which they still don't like to discuss.
No.
And he says, this is just some lab thing. And he had some thesis about why it would have been invented in the first place, which was, I thought, generous on his part. He thought it might be some mechanism for vaccinations, to create vaccinations using the product.
That's very generous, yes.
And not thinking it's what would you call germ warfare thing going on, which is what it was. And by the way, just to finish up, I did get a note from Right Now from one of our listeners.
Yes.
That brought up the Plum Island thing, which you mentioned. Which I mentioned is probably the source for Lyme
disease. Yeah.
And the producer Mike, and he says, I grew up in Montauk, New York. Plum Island was a short boat ride away.
Yeah.
Everyone knew Lyme's was from that lab. It was a biological weapons lab. It was a small island only accessible by boat with one building and military security.
Yeah.
So the locals all knew it.
Yeah.
So Lyme's disease, which is a plague in this country, thank you, U.S. government.
Since I've recently become a consumer of the product, would you mind playing us out with your Kratom clip? Because I have no idea what it is, but I've recently been given some Kratom.
This is some
drinkable.
I just spotted that on the list. Yes, this is a clip that I'm not sure what the point of it is. It's a cautionary tale at the same time. Is it maybe a good thing, a bad thing? It is, I think, inconclusive, but play it.
Well, hold on a second. So one of our producers makes Kratom himself, and he bottles it in beer bottles, of course not used, and he has shipped us some, and Tina and I have both tried it. I find that one bottle gives me a pleasant kind of body buzz.
Yeah.
It's not, and I was very...
It's supposed to give you some energy, too.
No, didn't get any energy. I was very skeptical. I didn't really want to. I mean, it's been sitting around for a while, but Texas Slim came by. He said, "You got Kratom?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, I'll drink it." So I watched him drink a bottle. and after he did not keel over, I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And Tina doesn't really like it, but and it tastes, I would say it's more like, what's that horrible stuff people drink? A kombucha.
Ugh, the worst.
It's like, it's fermented, but it doesn't taste horrible, and it gives you a pleasant buzz. I was pleasantly surprised, and that's why I'm curious about your NTD.
Well, here we go. This will finish the show.
Okay. A drug called Kratom is making headlines more and more frequently. The mostly unregulated drug is spreading throughout America at nightclubs and gas stations and on the internet. But now, because of its harmful effects, it's facing regulation and wrongful death lawsuits.
Harmful effects? I can't wait to pop open a bottle after the show.
NTD's Faye Quarter has more.
Kratom, an herbal drug with opioid-like effects, is spreading across America.
There's like a very low-key euphoric feeling and also like a boost in energy.
Samer Fawaz is a former Kratom user who had been using it for around 6 years. A friend introduced him to the drug, and he bought it online in a powdered form. He would use it regularly to get energy. But Fawaz later realized he was becoming dependent on it.
And when I got off of it, I felt significant withdrawals for a few weeks. Major stomach issues, like low grade depression, and loss of energy completely. Like I had to really recalibrate back to normal.
Only after breaking the addiction did he realize it had been numbing his emotions and causing him stomach problems. Now that he's drug-free, he says it's amazing to not be controlled by the need to use substances. Luckily, Fawaz didn't experience major side effects, but others who've used it in higher doses or in combination with other drugs have.
It affects everything from like nausea, diarrhea, and constipation. So a lot of the digestive system area, and also the nervous system. It affects cognition, memory, confusion, gait.
What? Gait? Come on. This is very odd. You know what? It's probably because it's very healthy and beneficial if these reports come out.
It's possible.
This makes no sense. I'm going to have a bottle right after the show. So if you don't hear from me, you know it's the Kratom.
Call the hospital.
It's the Kratom. It's the Kratom. Hey, that's it for No Agenda for today. Another half season of mainstream television brought to you in one handy little bundle for free. All you got to do is send the value back. End of show mixes. Dee's Laughs, Sir Bill Hudeck, Billy Bones. We got Eric Colburn and Cyborg Dave with some new and some classic end of show mixes. We have lined up next on your handy brand new lit podcast app or trollroom.io. We have Behind the Schemes with Boobury and Lavish. You'll love that show. Those guys are fun. And coming to you from the heart of the Texas Hill Country here in FEMA Region Number 6. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where I'm going to enjoy summer, beginning today and probably ending in 2 days.
Your name is?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Until we meet again, that will be on Sunday, just a few short days away from now. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. And adios, mofos, a hooey, and such.
They want control of everybody. Now, what do they want? They want fewer people. They think it's already too many, I think. That's what they've been saying in the United Nations for a long time. But the facts don't bear that out because less and less people are living in poverty, and our knowledge of agriculture is growing, our knowledge of genetics is growing, and we're able to grow way more food now than we were then. And food is the basis of how many people can be here.
Yeah, I like that theory. They're just gonna starve us to death.
Hey, yo, I said John C. has the best ad reads for all your PR needs. Shorten the notes, don't get the boys peeved. No jingles, no karma, keep it short and sweet. As a black man, I got some questions about Black Pete. Lindsey Graham pandering in South Cackalack, taking and beating. Yo, how do you get reelected? This guy is such a sack. Putting Trump in every sentence to avoid the booze. Russian citizens dying, the war is really really good news. That's what he said. Never been a fan. Who is this man? Yo, Lindsey Graham. Trump dissing Biden. He doesn't really know. He's barely alive at 1%. I mean, Sleepy Joe. His son Hunter got a sweetheart of a deal. The election was the most secure in U.S. history and not a steal. Can anyone run in 24 not named Trump? Excitement for indictments. The media can't even hide it. At the end of the world is pay to play. Authoritative by the boule. I mean, these sources say going all in on the charm offensive front. A worldwide phenomenon. Is this what you want?
So it seems to me that they're just trying to slowly kill everybody. I mean, isn't that what the population bomb people have been about since the 70s?
Yeah.
Oh my God! All right. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 car train. Ooh, and they're
calm down. Woo! Listen to that horn!
Before we went any further, is this particular clip, because it does bring out an issue that I think is floating around kind of as a subtext.
All right.
This guy floating around, just like being in a different dimension. It is like being in a different dimension. You just float around and don't cause trouble. Just floating all over the place. Apparently, people are floating around. Floating around. And when you're in them, floating around them, whether you're in them for a little short term or a long term, still floating around. And so they're floating around and they're stringing, because we have telephone poles around. Just floating all over the place. So why is he floating around anyway? That's what I thought this story was about. It was like still floating around. This is a decade ago. This is before we started doing our show. This stuff was floating around.
Yes.
Floating all over the place.
If you're gonna spray, get some cooks. By the way, it's called popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club. Popping bottles in the club.
Crystal, Dom Perignon, Dom.
Popping bottles in the club. If you're gonna spray, get some cooks. It's called bottles in the club. Popping bottles here in the club. Bottles in the club. Bottles in the club. Popping bottles in the club.
It's very difficult to stay sane. I mean, I smoke a lot of weed and I do this show, so like, I'm good.
Insane.
Christina Curry, Tina the Keeper, Mimi, Jay, Theodorable, the Shill, and the whole Curry, Dvorak, No Agenda family.
Insane. Be in good company with the insane No Agenda family.
That's right. We're just insane.
Insane.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Please remain seated for the family